Club World Cup. Something else that's put the rest of the Premier League on alert. Rodri's back as well.
When the best player in the world is not in one team, always is missed. So that is clear. But I'm happy to make good 60 minutes and hopefully he can again help us. Yeah, a lot, like always happened since arrive.
City now face Al Hilal in the Club World Cup last 16 on Tuesday. As the knockout phase gets underway, talkSPORT's coverage continues with Benfica versus Chelsea tomorrow night. Back home, the red half of Manchester can breathe a sigh of relief. It looks like Brian Mbeumo is close to signing.
We understand he's set to undergo his medical at Manchester United next week. They're finalising a package. It's worth more than the $62.5 million that Manchester United paid for Matheus Cunha.
Meanwhile, a former Man United player cleared up a 20-year-old England debate when he spoke to the boys on Drive.
Who would you have played at Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes? You've only got two.
Do I have to answer that?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Listen, all three top legends of their clubs.
Yeah, we know that, Tom. We know that, right?
You're trying to say to me.
Come on, who's the two?
Scholes, Gerrard.
And ahead of the Lions' first match of their tour down under, our reporter Alfie Reynolds is on the scene to ask Coach John Fogarty if everyone's pulled up OK in training.
Yeah, we've got a clean bill of health, which is good. And yeah.
Was Mac Hansen out there today?
Mac was not pulled. Mac was just held back for today, so he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He's a little bit of management. He's good to go for tomorrow.
There's loads more from Australia on talkSPORT's Lions Uncaged podcast. The British and Irish Lions versus Perth's Western Force is live and exclusive to talkSPORT tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
Hello, very good morning to you. It's Sam Matterface and Scott Minto on this Friday morning. Leicester sack Ruud van Nistelrooy just 9 months into the job and after relegation to the Championship. Leicester fans, what do you make of the decision? Is this just another example of Leicester dancing around on a pinhead to avoid PSR problems? And what is their strategy going forward? Who is going to be the next manager of the Foxes? 03717 22 33 44 889 on the text. So after thrashing Juventus last night and scoring 13 goals in 3 group games without reply, Manchester City, are they back? Pep Guardiola was full of praise of his team last night, but are they really a challenge to a strengthened Liverpool in next year's title race? Elsewhere, as we go into the second half of the Club World Cup, has it been misjudged by those of us in Europe, or has it been an expensive flop? Also this morning, Lewis-Skelly signs for Arsenal for the next 5 years and vows to win it all. Arsenal and Spurs look at Eze. Ronaldo bags a loot to stay in Saudi. And with the Lions' second game this weekend live on the talkSPORT network, Andy Farrell proclaims the tour as the most important sporting event in the world this summer. You're listening to Sam Matterface and Scott Minto. We're in for White and Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. And a very good morning to you. Good morning, Scotty.
Good morning, mate. I'm glad you're here.
Yes, well,
I'm
glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I mean, you know, broadcasting is all about adapting, don't you?
And timing.
We were expecting Troy Deeney here this morning. Yeah. We had him lined up, ready to talk all things attacking football. but due to unforeseen circumstances, Troy had to step aside. So who do we call? None other than Scott Minto. We've gone from having a striker in the studio to a left-back who solidified defences instead of terrorising them.
Well, I'd probably terrorise my own defence.
I mean, it's a little bit like ordering steak and getting a side salad. Hey, but it's the side salad that won the FA Cup.
Exactly. That's bang out of order. Do you know what? We started on that note. Listen, I'm more than happy to come off the bench for Troy.
Joking.
Not a problem at all.
Nice to see you.
I just thought I'd be interviewing myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was worried about you. Tell us about your journey.
I was worried about me.
Literally came in about 60 seconds ago.
Well, I got to Manchester Piccadilly this morning to get the train down. And you know what it's like. Sometimes you walk into a train station and the word cancelled is everywhere. So 6:15 was cancelled, 6:35 cancelled, 7 o'clock was cancelled. So I managed to squeeze onto the 6:55. I just bustled my way on. I'm sitting down trying to get into some sort of seat in the unreserved.
Well, you haven't got a lot on you, have you? So
No, only about
sense.
7 bags for the whole week, and the trip to the Women's Euros. But don't worry about that. And then that was delayed as well. That ended up getting stuck halfway down. So it arrived into Euston at 9:38. I then legged it downstairs to the Northern Line. You know what you need then, right? You need the next train just to be pulling up, jumping on the coach, the doors open, you're in.
Empty carriage.
Did that happen?
How
Next
long we
train, 5 minutes. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Anyway, listen, I walked into this studio at 1 minute past 10. So luckily, just about managed it.
But you don't sweat, you perspire. I can just notice.
I don't look to Alex Crook, do I? There you go. There's his first mention. He was hoping for one at the top, and he's got one. The big news so far this morning is that Ruud van Nistelrooy has been sacked as the manager of Leicester City. It's not a surprise, this, Scott, is it? I mean, this is all really about the fact that Leicester were waiting until they could get to the point where they could shove the compensation fee into next year's accounts.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were going to say the big news is that Alex Crook is doing water aerobics again. I mean, that video was not pretty to watch.
We can put that on YouTube.
I'm sure it's been on there already. But look, it's a shambles, isn't it? It's a shambles what Leicester are doing. The lads are back on Monday, and they're going to have no manager as it stands. The communication between the hierarchy, and there's only really two now, isn't there? Top and John Rutkin hasn't been there for a very long time. No one knows what's happening. We were thinking, would they wait until July the 1st, Tuesday, the second day of pre-season, before they sack Ruud, because of PSR problems, and they've done it now. So clearly, from a financial point of view, it must be best for them to do that. But I mean, there's no manager. The coaches are leaving. The players are either leaving, or I think there's 8 who have only got 1 year left on their contracts. Who's going to want to come in with a potential points deduction hanging over them? Listen, I don't think they're going to do a Luton, but I certainly don't think they're going to be anywhere near, at this moment in time anyway, where they want to be, and that's chasing promotion again. It's a shambles.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when we look back over the course of last season, we saw Luton, who had nothing like this sort of disruption during the summer. Yet because of the emotional toll that it had taken on their players going down from the Premier League and finding themselves very quickly dumped back into the Championship, they ended up couldn't raise themselves for the early part of the season. They found themselves in trouble very, very quickly and ultimately relegated to League One. Can you envisage a situation where Leicester have similar struggles? I'm not saying they're going to get relegated, but can you see them having struggle?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who can argue that they won't, for the reasons I've just already given? And that's the problem. I mean, look, when a season starts, really, I mean, it's not sort of season defining your start, but it can really help you either be up there or down there. And sometimes when you're down there, and I was part of a West Ham squad that still has a record of relegation of 42 points, and we didn't win our first home game till January. And the feeling was in the first half, when we had Di Canio, Defoe, Trevor Sinclair, Joey Cole, Mickey Carrick, David James, this was a team and a squad that was tipped for top 6, top 7. And yet when the season doesn't start well, sometimes it's very difficult to get out of that slippery slope. Leicester at this moment in time, I keep on using the word shambles. It's an absolute shambles. There's no manager, no coaches. What are the players going to be thinking? The players who are there will want to get out. The players who, they perhaps would want to say, okay, these are the type of players we want to get from the Championship back into the Premier League. Why would they want to go to Leicester right now? What can they offer in terms of contract-wise? It's not a stable club.
You know what it's like. We sit on this side of the microphone and we say this seems like a ridiculous decision, not because they've sacked Ruud van Nistelrooy, but because they've waited so long and they don't seem to have a plan about who's going in there. They certainly are not going to announce that in the next 10 minutes, that's for sure. but we think that they may well have an idea of what's going on. But the fact that we've got to this stage with pre-season training starting early next week, and there's no clear communication with the fans of the football club about what's going on, you can look back over the course of the last few years to Leicester and their way of operating and think, this is a shambles. It does look like a club that is not being run properly. And I can understand the frustrations. Now, the Leicester fans get a little bit of stick because they turn on the manager very, very quickly. But actually, I've said this for a long time, and we talked about this during the course of last season. I'm not actually sure that all those frustrations are geared towards the manager. I think most of the Leicester supporters are fed up with the way that the club has been run over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. They're fed up with the fact that they don't get the players in time. Last year, Steve Cooper was scrambling around for players at the end of the transfer window. They ended up sacking him when they were outside the bottom 3, bought in Ruud van Nistelrooy. Ruud van Nistelrooy has had no experience of managing in the Premier League before, apart from a couple of games in charge of Manchester United, who he had been the assistant of. And all of a sudden, he's given the keys to the King Power Stadium and said, look, you were a great player. You must be able to keep this lot up. It doesn't work like that. Now, actually, I think Ruud probably will end up being quite a good coach. But going to Leicester has damaged his reputation as well.
Well, he kind of got the job on the back of 4 games, and 2 of those were against Leicester. So I think that says everything, really, doesn't it? And he did a decent job at PSV. And I thought he came across really well in terms of the media, but I do think there can be criticisms aimed at him. He didn't change things enough, until really late on. Didn't change systems, always kept the same 11. But he's probably looking at it thinking, I've got no options.
Yeah.
I go back to what, Glenn Roeder, and a lovely guy and an amazing coach, and God rest his soul. He was perhaps feeling that I've got these big names in here, and these are the best. This is the best team I've got. But actually, sometimes, and my argument to him was, sometimes these people need a bit of a kick up the backside, even if you just drop them for a game. Subconsciously, they realise they're not undroppable. And Ruud, for me, didn't make enough changes. So, look, it's not totally at him. There's a little bit to blame. But I honestly, I think, I don't want to say Pep Guardiola would have struggled, but he probably would have done with the team he's got, with the atmosphere they've got.
Mind that he struggled actually with the team he did have last season. I wouldn't be surprised if he struggled with Leicester as well.
But it's a shambles. Just got to mention Crookie as well. He's put on here. I mean, we should get Ollie Klink, the proper transfer guru, on at some time during the show. But he has put here, nobody from, and he's right, nobody from the board has even commented in the statement. They're claiming no one lined up, and training starts Monday.
Yeah.
It is just mental. It really is.
It's absolutely crazy. 037173334 if you're a Leicester fan. I think Leicester fans probably over the course of the last few years get hair being pulled out by the way the club has been run, probably since the COVID situation, actually. I know that it cost King Power a lot of money, and that has obviously eroded some of the wealth that the family that own the club have had. But even so, just the structural running of the club seems to have sort of fallen away over the course of the last season.
Listen, it's one thing to win the Premier League, there's another thing to win the FA Cup, and they were chasing top 4. Put all that to one side, but what they've done in the last decade or so, there's no way they should suddenly be a yo-yo club in such a short space of time.
Absolutely, and not be in a situation where they're struggling going into the Championship season. 03717 2233 Their first game is live on the Sunday of the new season, 4:30 start right here on talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2. If you've got any views on that, 03717 2233 you can WhatsApp us as well. We're going to talk Manchester City and their victory last night in the Club World Cup, and we'll do a sort of half-time report on the Club World Cup as well, whether it's been a success or not, and what we can expect over the course of the next couple of weeks, because I got a feeling that people are going to start taking an interest, especially now it's got to the knockouts. This is talkSPORT. Sam Matterface and Scott Minto, and we're here right the way through till 1 o'clock this afternoon. It's all going off this morning, isn't it? It's very busy, including Leicester City sacking Ruud van Nistelrooy. Well, look, I think everybody knows that they were going to sack Ruud van Nistelrooy at the end of last season. That's not the shock. The shock is that it is, Friday the 27th of June, and they have no plan in place for next season. A season which starts in the second week of August. Let's speak to Tom, who's a Leicester fan. Hello, Tom.
How's it going? You all right?
Yeah, we're good, thank you. How are you feeling as a Leicester fan?
Not surprised, if I'm being honest. But it's from the top. I mean, Rudkin,
literally.
Rudkin and top. They don't want to do anything. I've got a family member who works at Leicester, and by all accounts, is more bothered about polo than he is about football. So if that's the case, stand up. Get somebody in who cares. Get somebody in who wants it. Get a young manager in, maybe Michael Carrick or probably Suitors, and we can build on it from there. But Scott Minto's right at the minute. It's absolutely shambolic. It's embarrassing.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because the Leicester fans have had such a good and tight relationship with the family over the course of the last 10, 15 years, really. But that is in danger of being fractured, isn't it?
Well, the history that we've got with him, obviously, his dad passed away in the ground. You know, I mean, it's brutal to have that. But if it's too much, and it was his father who wanted it rather than top, then we'll always thank him. We'll always be welcome. But just do the right thing and get rid.
Do you feel like it's a club that's drifting at the moment?
We're destined. We're going to fall out of the league if it keeps going on.
That might be a bit drastic, Tom, but I can see.
But actually, Tom, maybe it's not. I mean, not out of the league, but you know, we saw what happened with Luton, and I personally, when I watched the Premier League this season before, said Luton have probably got the best chance of going up, and look what happened. And they're in, you know, allegedly we're in a much better place than Leicester right now. So how worried are you for Leicester next season coming? And you know, at what point does a manager come in and take charge of pre-season?
Well, it's the unknowns that scare me. We're going to get a points deduction, whether that's 6, 9, 12, 15, whatever it is. We don't know. We don't know that. So even if we start, say, 15 points behind, we've got to win 5 games to get level. By the time we win 5 games, everybody else is 5 games. So we're 10 games behind. In a season that really is not that long, but long enough for players to be tired and, like you say, who do you bring in? We've got the only saving grace is we've got Jeremy Mongo to sign our contract with us, and he's probably going to fly, and we're going to get a few quid for him.
Yeah, the only problem is he's 15, 16.
Yeah, I know that. We just need to age him a bit.
That is a little bit of an issue at this stage. Listen, I appreciate your call. Cheers, Tom. Thank you very much. If you're a Leicester fan, you want to have your say, 0371722 334. That is a key thing, isn't it? You know, with Leicester, when you're thinking about discussing them, you've got to remember that the EFL are coming for you. They are coming for you. You danced away from a points deduction previously. You got out of it in the Premier League as well. They are not going to tolerate it this time around. Third time unlucky, I'm afraid.
Mate, it was an absolute loophole that they found, and the Premier League are after them. The EFL were waiting for them, and they're now back in it. They will throw the book, you know, whether it be a points deduction, and if so, how many, whether it be a transfer embargo. I mean, who's going to want to join Leicester? That's the thing. You know, who's going to want to join Leicester City Football Club, not long away from winning the FA Cup, the Premier League, chasing Champions League places, but where they are right now. If I'm a professional footballer and I'm thinking I'm a top championship player wanting to get into the Premier League, I'm not joining Leicester.
If you've got options, you're not going to take one at the King Power. Let's go to Josh, who's a Leicester fan. Hello.
Hi, boys. You all right?
Yeah,
Hi, Josh.
Good. Yeah. Let's have it right, lads. I think I speak on behalf of the whole fan base. I don't want to be pointing the finger at Van Nistelrooy at all. I mean, yes, he made some ropey decisions and stuff, but it's got to be. You've got to look at the board. You have to. I think Top, he ain't got a backbone. Rudkin, let's be right, he's just a sausage. I just don't understand it. The way the club's been run, we've gone from the highs that we achieved to this. It's just disappointing. So disappointing. And going into the Championship next season, I think one of you said earlier, like, I don't expect them to do a Luton Town, but let's be right, it's on the cards. It's definitely on the cards. I think the way it's just been going, I can't sit here and not worry about being in a situation like Luton.
I mean, if he was here, John Rudkin would say categorically, "I'm not a sausage." But
the problem is he's never around to say he's not a sausage.
But he does. Yeah, he's not. I was going to say he's not going to come and communicate with us or communicate with you, and that's half the problem, isn't it? The lack of communication between the boardroom and the supporters.
100%, no communication whatsoever, and I think it gets to a point where you've just Tops, like I say, he's not got a backbone. I don't think his love is with the club like his dad was, and it's really sad to say that. From a fan's point of view, I've got a real emotional connection to the club and his family after what happened, and it's just really sad to be at this stage now where I don't think he's got the love in it like his dad has, and the way we're going, it's just not looking good, is it, boys?
Well, it's a sad state of affairs, isn't it, Josh? Good luck to you. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate it. 03717 223344. You can voice note us on WhatsApp, by the way, if you use the same number. You can text us via that as well, or just use the traditional 81089. Garinda's live on talkSPORT. Good morning, Garinda.
Hi, morning. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. I've heard you a lot on the sports bar with the boys when I've been walking back from the King Power, actually.
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Ruud van Nistelrooy, we all knew this was coming. It's just, I'm really concerned where we're heading. It just seems like doom and gloom. You know, from our amazing season, everything was amazing, and I just think this sacking managers, there's no consistency. I've expected a lot more with Ruud, but he was working with Deadwood. Perhaps he's promised players that, I thought this whole point deduction, I thought, okay, it's all done and dusted. And now, I don't know where we're heading now.
Okay, Corinda, thank you very much. Appreciate it. 03717 223344. Scott, Corinda's made a really good point there. What is the point in sacking managers, hiring managers, sacking managers, changing it every 2 minutes? Why not give Ruud van Nistelrooy a bit more time? Why not invest in him? Why not, let him try and turn it around? Let him try and rebuild it for the future.
Well, look, he's a very sort of inexperienced manager, but he would have had 4 years of experience in sort of the last season that he had.
He's also been an assistant manager. He's worked in the Dutch setup. He's worked at PSV. It's not like he's green behind the ears.
But there is no, absolutely. Listen, I'm not criticising him, and I do think they should have kept him in place at least until they've got someone else in place, and that's the most ridiculous thing. I mean, I cannot believe the lad's going to go back to pre-season on Monday, and who's going to take charge? There's no direction. At least if you haven't got someone in place, and it seems like they haven't, that's what they're saying at the moment, then Ruud carries on, gets them fit, at least works to some kind of system, and then there's a little bit of continuity, even if you bring someone else in. But I just don't get it. I don't get getting rid of Ruud while not having anyone on the horizon. It's just to say rudderless is rudderless from the top. Therefore, it's going to be rudderless in terms of management. The players will be looking at it thinking, what's going on here? They're not going to give it all. We know how important pre-season is. It's really important. Shouldn't be underestimated at all. And yet you've got no one to actually sort of take the training or you obviously you can do the running, but the tactics, just so important.
What's worse managed, the Avanti West Coast line or Leicester City? 03717. No, I'm joking.
I think Gabby has a pop at Avanti, doesn't he?
We all do. Anyone who goes up and down that line. I mean, I've only just recovered. My body temperature's only just come back to normal.
It's -2 in here with the aircon, just to cool you down.
Oh dear, I'm sure there's a few Leicester fans that are hot under the collar as well. 03717 223344. Keep the text coming as well. We're going to talk about Manchester City in the next section of the programme, because despite the heat in sizzling temperatures in Orlando last night, they got the job done. But are they back?
According to Pep Guardiola, Man City haven't been this good for a very long time.
We can do it again.
Apart from that fluid 5-2 win over Juventus at the Club World Cup, something else that's put the rest of the Premier League on alert, Rodri's back as well.
I'm happy to make good 60 minutes and hopefully he can again help us.
City now face Al Hilal in the Club World Cup last 16 on Tuesday. As the knockout phase gets underway, talkSPORT's coverage continues with Benfica versus Chelsea tomorrow night. Back home, the red half of Manchester can breathe a sigh of relief. It looks like Brian Mbeumo is close to signing.
We understand he's set to undergo his medical at Manchester United next week. They're finalising a package. It's worth more than the 62.5 million that Manchester United paid for Matheus Cunha.
And ahead of the Lions' first match of their tour down under, our reporter Alfie Reynolds is on the scene to ask coach John Fogarty if everyone's pulled up OK in training.
Yeah, we've got a clean bill of health, which is good. And yeah.
Was Mack Hansen out there today?
Mack was not pulled, Mack was just held back for today. So he's fine, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a little bit of management. He's good to go for tomorrow.
There's loads more from Australia on talkSPORT's Lions Uncaged podcast. The British and Irish Lions versus Perth's Western Force is live and exclusive to talkSPORT tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
Great first touch. That is a superb goal. It's the perfect start for Pep Guardiola's men. Given away by Edison. It's a dreadful error, and there's the equaliser.
It's absolutely ridiculous goal to concede.
But here they come, City. Great ball across. Oh, it's an own goal. Pierre Kalulu under no pressure really, and there are gifts being given aplenty in Orlando. Nunez across to Haaland, and they've got another. He's only been on the field 6 minutes. Great control from Haaland into the area, plays it into the box. Surely they'll score here. Phil Foden into an empty net. It was a tap in. It's come to the edge of the area, and it's an absolute stunner. Savinho with a rocket. This is a real statement of intent. A 5-star performance. Finds Vlahovic, right foot shot into the bottom corner. And that's a small gesture of defiance. Manchester City have finished with a flourish. They win Group G, and they win this game in Orlando against Juventus by 5-2.
It's talkSPORT, it's Sam Matterface and Scott Minto, and they dealt with sizzling heat to produce a statement victory. But Guardiola was very, very impressed by Manchester City's 5-2 win over Juventus last night. It's a long time since we played like that, he said. Were you as impressed?
Yes, very much so. And to the point where I was sort of thinking the way that Liverpool are sort of making early signings, I do believe, and we'll come on to Arsenal, they will get that striker and they'll be up there. And City, with all the new rebuild, you know, I've said this to you a million times, haven't we, on the talkSPORT All Access podcast. For City to do what they did, 4 straight league titles. It's never happened before in the history in 135 years. So there was always going to be a bit of a drop-off. I didn't see it being that much of a drop-off. Pep thought, I've got 1 year left in my contract. I'll just see it out. He was talked to by Brazil and the England national side as well. So he just thought, let's wait and see. And then the drop-off, he thought, I can't leave them in the way they are. But it's an absolute rebuild. So I'm now thinking, yeah, players have come in January. They've sort of not sneaked into the Champions League places, but it's still not really, what you'd expect from this City side. Obviously lost the FA Cup final. It's going to take another year for all these to blend in. Now, look, I'll caveat it with it was a poor Juventus side, and it is a poor Juventus side, but I saw Manchester City individually, as a team, offensively, defensively, high press, knowing where each player needs to go. This was like watching Manchester City of a couple of seasons ago. And honestly, Sam, I don't say that lightly.
We know they hit the brick wall last season. I thought, like you, without the ball, they were so aggressive last night. And if you look back at that particular aspect of the game, the press, that was the key facet that they were missing, not executing properly last season. The fact that they've done that could set them up for a much better season this time around.
I think that, they lost their mojo, they lost their sort of aura, not necessarily because they weren't good going forward, they still scored goals, but it was because they were so open and they didn't do the press, and even when they tried to do the press, people could pass around them. What I saw last night, and again, we have to say it's a poor Juventus side, but it's still Juventus, they do have good individual players, was a team where it just really surprised me. It looked like the team they've been together for a couple of seasons, not sort of thrown together in, whether you call this a pre-season or a proper World Cup tournament. Everybody knew their role. And defensively, they didn't allow Juventus to get 3 or 4 passes together. It was something like high 70s in terms of ball possession.
76% possession, right. 34 shots to 5, 738 passes to 219. That shows you a level of dominance. Juventus aren't, as you've already mentioned, in the top bracket, but they are still good European opponents. You mentioned that they look as if they've been playing together for a very long time. Do you expect them to challenge for the title then next season?
Yes. And
are they the biggest challengers to Liverpool?
At this moment in time, yes. I still think Arsenal, I think they've got a very good squad, Arsenal, but we all know they need that striker, and I do believe that they will get. They're not fools. I mean, they'd be fools not to get a striker, even if they have to overpay or perhaps not get their number one choice. They have to get that fox in the box. I've said this to you again before, where I remember I was at West Ham, we went to Anfield. We played really well. Michael Owen maybe got 5 touches of the ball. 2 of them went in the back of the net. We're on the way home thinking, what the heck happened there?
He didn't go down there right, did he?
No, I said, go down the other side. But honestly, Arsenal drew too many games last season. So the difference is that person out of nothing that can turn a draw into a win. And that's the type of player that Michael Owen was. That's the type of player that Arsenal need. I believe they will absolutely get that striker. So I'm really excited already about the Premier League. But in terms of City, absolutely. And to the point where, I'd be very careful not to sort of jump on one game. I don't judge on one game. But what I saw, the way individually, Aït-Nouri was brilliant again. And he was probably man of the match in the previous game. I was going to ask you
about that, right? Because last year and for the last couple of years, we've seen Pep Guardiola develop sort of a tactical system where he relies on one of the defenders, maybe a central defender. It was in the early part, a central defender stepping into midfield. Then it was the fullback stepping into midfield. Now everyone's doing the inverted fullbacks into midfield. But they're not going to do that with Ryan Aït-Nouri. And certainly the what we've seen so far in this Club World Cup is a sort of pattern where the fullbacks very much stay wide. Is it a return to traditional fullback roles? Is it traditional fullback roles with Duracell batteries? What is it?
Yeah. Well, honestly, Sam, so what I saw from Aït-Nouri yesterday was, look, they didn't have to defend too much. Nico Gonzalez is a very good player. But he hardly got the ball and didn't get a chance to run at Aït-Nouri. So defensively, we didn't see too much. But offensively, he's good on the ball. He can go down the outside. He can make those overlap runs. He also did go into midfield, and at times he did play as an inverted midfielder, almost coming into there rather than sort of being your typical, I'm going to be in there like a Mark Cucurella does. I couldn't have been more impressed with him, and he's just one of many. I could name a few. What I would say is, and of course I will say this, that the fullback role is perhaps not given as much credit. You're looking at me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, listen, as a former left back myself, I totally agree.
I'll give you a reason. Nico O'Reilly, who's a 10, and he's done a great job for City when he's been playing at left back. That's because they have all the ball possession. He didn't sense the danger for that second goal. He didn't come across quick enough. And if he had it done, and Vlahovic was very clever, once he got that first touch, he was able to get between O'Reilly and the ball, and therefore O'Reilly couldn't bring him down because it'd be a sending off. a natural fullback would be able to sense that danger, come across. And it's all very well, I was talking about Juventus, and I said it on commentary, and if they needed 6 or 7, they would have got 6 or 7. If they needed that to get through, they would have got it. They were that good. But you can't afford in the latter stages against the top teams to give away any goal. And that's something which Ait Nouri can sense that danger.
So some of the headlines this morning were City are back. Is that an overreaction? 03717223344 to one game against Juventus? Or can you see signs that Manchester City are very much going to be the big players again in the Premier League next season as Pep Guardiola turned it round in 2 transfer wins? So 03717223344. Some problems I've got with it. I still worry about the goalkeeper. I don't think they've got a proper right back at the moment. Rico Lewis is a midfield player who's been playing at right back, and he's done quite well there. You've seen different players been sort of shunted out there over the course of last season. Matthias Nunez was one of those as well. But the goalkeeper thing is a real issue for me. We saw a mistake from him last night, and actually I think it was sort of suggested it was a rare mistake. But actually, if you go back over the course of last season, he made too many mistakes.
Sam, he did that 5 minutes early in the game.
Yeah, he did
it 5 minutes early in the game. And Locatelli had a chance to try and lob him because he was out the goal, and in the end he was closed down. So he made that mistake 5 minutes before, so that's your warning sign. Don't do that again.
I mean, he's a great goalkeeper, but in the last couple of years, I don't know if he's taken his eye off the ball, whatever it is, but he has regressed, I think. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, I think so. I think he had certainly a poor season last season. I still really like him, and if he can get his head around, not making those mistakes, I think distribution-wise, he's arguably the best goalkeeper in the world. He can do that long pass, which he did for one of the goals where, and Erling Haaland, what a touch it was. It came over his shoulder and just brought it down first time. It ended up being a City goal. But that ping, a 50-yard crossfield ping that Edison did, there's not many goalkeepers in the world that can do that.
That's the sort of yin and the yang, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose there's the mistake that we saw which led to the goal, but then there's the ability to get them high up the pitch very quickly and cut out all of that pressure. And very quickly you're on the attack. The other thing, Erling Haaland wasn't in the starting 11 last night, but obviously came on and scored his 300th goal in senior football.
That's outrageous.
But how do you sort of get everybody into the team when everybody's available? That's another big challenge for me. 03717 223344. That's the number to call if you want to talk Manchester City. A big game at the weekend in the Club World Cup live on talkSPORT. It is at 4:00 Saturday afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. So that's 9 o'clock in our time?
It is
9 o'clock. It is Benfica against Chelsea. Now, Scott Minto won the FA Cup with Chelsea. I've still got a poster of it on my wall. However, you also played in the Champions League for Benfica.
I did.
So what are you doing? What's that? How does Saturday look for you?
I'm commentating on the game for talkSPORT.
Well, so you've got to be independent and unbiased anyway.
Well, yeah. How do I comment on this? Chelsea gave me the best day of my football career, but Benfica was just such an incredible experience. Living out there. I lived in a place called Cascais, which is 20 minutes from Lisbon.
The way you're talking very romantically into the microphone as you review these two.
I can picture now as you woke up looking over the Atlantic Ocean, and I remember my dad, who doesn't fly, he came over for the first game, and we won 4-0 with my brother. And the kickoff was like 9 o'clock at night. So we finished at 11, got to midnight. Got home about 1 o'clock in the morning. Had a cheeky little glass of wine sitting outside on the balcony, and I said to my dad, "This is my lifestyle now." So it was just incredible. I mean, I can talk for hours about Benfica. 5,000 people on the first day of training session at the training ground. 80,000 people on the one and only kind of presentation game in pre-season at the Stadio da Luz. 80,000 to see who was going to represent their team. It was just an incredible experience, and I tried to learn the language. I tried to put myself into the culture, but the Chelsea's the Chelsea. So look, I don't think many people will argue with me that I hope Chelsea go all the way. I hope Chelsea win the tournament. But if Chelsea do happen to lose, then I hope Benfica win it.
Okay, Benfica Chelsea live on talkSPORT, one of the World Club Cup games that are upcoming. Critics say it's just there to inflate the coffers of FIFA, but what are you saying about the Club World Cup? You watching it? 03717 223344. It's talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface with Scott Minto, and the Lions are just about to get involved in their second game, the first on tour. And down in Perth for us is rugby correspondent Alfie Reynolds. A very good, well, it's a good sort of morning for us. It's a good evening to you in Perth. Look at that background. I'm hoping that we've just connected to him live on Zoom, and we can see him. He's sitting in his hotel room.
He hasn't stopped smiling.
I hope that that's a green screen behind him, and he's not really witnessing that sort of landscape behind him. But I've got a fear that he's in paradise. Listen, you're in Perth, and so are the Lions, and it's a big weekend, isn't it? It's the first game on tour.
Yeah, morning Sam, morning Scott, evening from here in Perth. I thought I'd stay in the hotel room so I wouldn't get you too jealous by going outside and showing you what it's been like. Unbelievable, by the way, middle of their winter, blue skies and about 18 degrees. But a big week, absolutely, you're right, Sam. The Lions losing their opening game in Dublin to Argentina a week ago. Andy Farrell, the head coach, really not happy about that. So they're on Aussie soil. It's time to set the tone for this tour. They need a win, they need an improved performance to take into the rest of this tour. Yes, they've got plenty of tour games to come, but that test series against the Wallabies is not far away. So a much changed team that Andy Farrell has gone with, 13 changes to the starting 15 to that which played against Argentina. Dan Sheehan is going to captain the team. I was at the stadium that is taking place at, Optus Stadium. It's a brilliant venue that they're going to be playing at tomorrow night. They had the captain's run where they go through their drills. After that, I spoke to the assistant coach, John Fogarty, and I began by asking him if everyone pulled through that captain's run okay.
Yeah, we've got a clean bill of health, which is good. And yeah, happy out, ready to play.
Was Mac Hansen out there today?
Mac was not pulled, Mac was just held back for today, so he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He's a little bit of management. He's good to go for tomorrow.
And can I ask you about your sessions? Do you get a slot in the morning? Are you able to give us a bit of insight into what that entails?
Yeah, well, I'm beginning to think that's my job over here now. Just a bit of fun. I'm like one of those comfort dogs that are brought over to make people feel good. Yeah, so on a Tuesday, there's a fair bit of information that goes into preparing for that session. So to lighten the mood a small bit, I'm literally rolled out, and we'll do some kind of a stupid game. This week we did headers, so 5 guys so 5 forwards on one side, 5 forwards on the other side. They head the ball into the bin. They did it twice in 3 minutes. The backs only did it once, and it was a bit of crack. Johnny Sexton, surprise, surprise, has questioned the referee, the officiating of it, which is me, and he's done a review of the footage. So, you know, there's always guys that spoil things, and Johnny is one of them still.
What was the result of the review, or is that to be decided?
It's to be decided.
Just finally from me, just how excited are they as a group to get out here? You mentioned the stadium and to finally play on Aussie soil.
Yeah, it's been really cool to be over here. We've had 3 good days training. Everyone is impressed with the stadium, and everyone wants to get this tour on Australian soil going. So yeah, it's been really, really exciting, you know, for the group that's going to go out there.
John Fogarty on good form earlier today then, the Lions assistant coach. By the way, I think the backs losing that game of headers into a bin to the forwards, they're going to be absolutely fuming about. But Fogarty on good form. As he said, Mac Hansen just being rested. We expect him to still take part tomorrow. And just a reminder of that game, the build-up starts at 10 a.m. on talkSPORT and the kickoff is at 11.
It was interesting looking at the team. And one missed tackle doesn't mean the end of the world, but Henry Pollock selected over Jack Conan. Explain that one to me and just tell me how important that could be.
Yeah, really interesting. I think number 8 is one of the positions that the Lions are possibly looking a little bit light here because, as you say, Jack Conan on the bench is the only specialist number 8 in the squad. Henry Pollock will start there tomorrow. Ben Earl we saw start there in Argentina. So those 2 English guys that can play all across the back row, they can play 8, but they're not necessarily a specialist 8. Look, Henry Pollock, he didn't have the best appearance off the bench against Argentina. He was playing for the England under-20s in the Six Nations earlier this year. He ended up making his full England debut at the end of the Six Nations in Cardiff, where he came off the bench to score 2 tries. He's become a regular for Northampton, where he was brilliant against Leinster in the Champions Cup semi-final in Dublin, started the final. He didn't have a great game against Argentina, Sam, but honestly, what can this kid not do? And I still back him to potentially play his way into the team. Yes, there's such quality players in this squad that starting the Test series is going to be difficult, but it's been an unbelievable rise for Henry Pollock, and I think he is the sort of character, even though he's only 20, that will relish that occasion on Saturday. 45,000, loads of Lions fans in attendance. I think he'll be chomping at the bit to go out there and prove himself.
It is important as well, isn't it? Especially at the early part of the tour. After last weekend, everyone was a little bit sort of, okay, anticipation was really high in Dublin, and then the defeat comes and everyone gets a little bit low. But the wild swings of emotions, the ups and the downs, it's probably best at this stage not to get wildly excited or too critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we said earlier, Andy Farrell's made 13 changes to the starting 15. He's got players that need to play. Having said that, it was interesting to speak to Tyg Furlong, the front rower, yesterday, because he's on his third Lions tour. He's been there and done that. He's such a top quality player. But speaking about the pressure to get this thing together, the Lions have games, but at some point it has to click. And he was saying, look, there's no need to panic yet. And I think you're absolutely right. But the Lions do need an improved performance. They will want combinations to look a bit slicker. There's 11 Irish players in the matchday 23 in total, 8 of them starting. I think Andy Farrell relying on the core of players that know each other, that know his game plan to have a more cohesive unit. That's what they'll be hoping is on display at Optus Stadium.
Alfie, thank you very much. That's Alfie Reynolds live from Perth. Andy Farrell conducting an interview yesterday and said that the Lions tour would be the most important thing in world sport by a country mile, whatever is going on. Well, I'll tell you this. I don't make much time to watch rugby union. I'm just consumed by the football. And when I have got extra time, I usually try to find a little bit of cricket to go and watch or something like that. But there's something about the Lions. I do get involved. What does the Lions look like in the Minto schedule?
I tell you what, with 3 still reasonably young kids, it's not easy to put anything other. I don't even watch as much football as I should, let alone rugby or cricket. And cricket was my second sport growing up. But I love the fact he said that, because in his mind that's the case. And again, he's setting out a mandate, a statement to his players that this is your Club World Cup, this is your World Cup, this is your Euros, this is bigger than a Six Nations or even a World Cup, because it's the next tournament or the next sort of set of games. And if you don't have that mentality, then it's not a strong Australia side, but they'll be up for this. They're a proud nation. They love beating the Brits and certainly the English.
Two things very much on the Matterface bucket list.
Go on.
An England cricket tour to the West Indies.
I'd take the Ashes.
Without doubt. No. And then a Lions tour to Australia or New Zealand.
Yeah, I'd do South Africa.
Would you?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, maybe we can do that. Well, we'll do that one, Scott. Yeah, let's do that.
Let's
do
Let's have a look at the calendar.
South Africa.
Yeah.
And we'll do a West Indies cricket tour.
I reckon we might have a bit more time when they come around. Let's do it.
You never know. Right, okay, still to come. We are going to talk a little bit about what happened at the Club World Cup so far. We're going to talk about Eberici Eze and the possibility of him joining a team in North London, but which one? Both of them are looking at him, apparently. We've also got the opportunity to discuss a little bit more about what's happening at West Ham United, or what's not happening at West Ham United. You're listening to talkSPORT. It's White and Jordan with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go.
According to Pep Guardiola, Man City haven't been this good for a very long time.
We can do it again. I had the feeling that the players, it's my opinion, it's the players felt, I don't have to tell them, felt that in that way we can compete like it happened in the last decade.
Apart from that fluid 5-2 win over Juventus at the Club World Cup, something else that's put the rest of the Premier League on alert, Rodri's back as well.
When the best player in the world is not in one team, always is missed. So that is clear. But I'm happy to make good 60 minutes and hopefully he can again help us. Yeah, a lot, like always happened since arrive.
City now face Al Hilal in the Club World Cup last 16 on Tuesday. As the knockout phase gets underway, talkSPORT's coverage continues with Benfica versus Chelsea tomorrow night. Back home, the red half of Manchester can breathe a sigh of relief. It looks like Brian Mbeumo is close to signing.
We understand he's set to undergo his medical at Manchester United next week. They're finalising a package. It's worth more than the 62.5 million that Manchester United paid for Matheus Cunha.
Meanwhile, a former Man United player cleared up a 20-year-old England debate when he spoke to the boys on Drive.
Who would you have played at Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes? You've only got two.
Do I have to answer that?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Listen, all three top legends of their clubs.
Yeah, we know that, Tom. We know that, right?
Come
on, who's the two?
Scholes, Gerrard.
And ahead of the Lions' first match of their tour down under, our reporter Alfie Reynolds is on the scene to ask Coach John Fogarty if everyone's pulled up OK in training.
Yeah, we've got a clean bill of health, which is good. And yeah.
Was Mac Hansen out there today?
Mac was not pulled, Mac was just held back for today. So he's fine, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a little bit of management. He's good to go for tomorrow.
There's loads more from Australia on talkSPORT's Lions Uncaged podcast. The British and Irish Lions versus Perth's Western Force is live and exclusive to talkSPORT tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
Hello, very good morning to you. It's Sam Matterface and Scott Minto here on talkSPORT. We're here till 1 o'clock. We've got loads to get through. We're going to speak to Marcus Buckland later in the hour about the Wimbledon draw. Arsenal in just a second as well. But let's go back to Tom Clayton, who's got some more details on that Wimbledon draw that has been made in the last hour or so. And it is fascinating, Tom.
It is indeed. Good morning, chaps. And it's a tough draw for Jack Draper, the British number one, who bagged the fourth seed. It does mean that he's going to avoid Yannick Sinner until the semi-finals. But before that, he might have to face Novak Djokovic in the quarter-finals. Also, Alexander Bublik in the third round, who knocked him out of the French Open. And Grigor Dimitrov, a former semi-finalist and finalist here at Wimbledon, in the second round. First round, he's been given a draw against Sebastian Baez of Argentina. Sinner himself, the top seed, will take on Luca Nardi, a fellow Italian. Meanwhile, Carlos Alcaraz also taking on an Italian. The second seed, the defending champion, taking on Fabio Fognini. So that's going to be a pretty tough draw when it comes to the men's. Also, Cam Norrie, the former British number one, has been drawn against the Spaniard Roberto Batista Agut. Meanwhile, the wildcard Dan Evans will take on another British wildcard, Jay Clark. But the winner of that will take on potentially Djokovic in the second round.
Can I put you on the spot, Tom? Do you have any information about who Oliver Tarvet is playing?
I know that he's in the very last bracket, which means that if he wins his first round match, he'll take on Carlos Alcaraz in the second round.
Great for him. He's the world 719.
Yeah.
He beat the 144th ranked Alexander Blocks in his first best of 5 sets match to make the main draw. He's 21 years of age. He's from St Albans, but he can't get any of the prize money because he's a US college student.
Okay.
So therefore he's an amateur, and they're only allowed to get back the 10 grand. That's it. That's all they can have is 10 grand, and that can pay for their travel expenses throughout the course of a year. So he's won £66,000 already just by getting into the main draw. But if he was to get through, what happens to that prize money? That's the big question. Where does it go?
Well, I imagine it goes back into the pot essentially for next year, which allows them to raise the money for next season. Of course, this year there's been a 7% prize fund increase, which on paper doesn't sound like an awful lot. But when you consider the overall prize fund at Wimbledon this year for all competitions is £53.5 million, and the winner of each the men's and ladies singles getting £3 million each. It's not a bad prize pot.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate that. We'll speak to Marcus Buckland later in the hour about it in more details. He's not having a bad time anyway. He's a US college student in San Diego. I think he's all right. He's okay.
Have you been to San Diego?
I haven't been to San Diego. I've been very close to San Diego, but I haven't actually been to San Diego.
He's having fun for sure.
I'm sure he's having fun. The weather is great all through the year. So, yeah, fantastic. Okay. Somebody else who's had a very good last 12 months, Eberici Eze, scored the winner in the FA Cup final, scored for England at Wembley as well, has been linked with the move to both Arsenal and Tottenham in the last few days. Let's just start by sort of assessing the possibility of him going to Arsenal. Where would he fit there? Because he's not an out-and-out left winger, is he, in the mould of a Martinelli?
No, and he would add a different option. I mean, I go back to Eze when he was in the Championship and I was working on the EFL, and I saw him in the QPR, and I just thought, this kid... I love his story. I love his backstory. I love the fact that he went to so many different clubs. You know, the penny didn't quite drop, but he never gave up. It was all about playing for the love of the game. And look where he is right now, not just, on the verge of a fantastic move or wherever he goes. And obviously playing for a good club as well. And that's not easy to say, being Charlton related. But, he plays for his country, and he's just a wonderful talent. So it suits him exactly how Oliver Glasner plays him, one of those 2 number 10s. But he absolutely can play in the wing, coming off it, 100%. He can also, there was a time where last season, Martin Odegaard wasn't quite on form, and maybe at time he needed to be brought out and rested in a few games, and he could be that number 10. It could be one of the 2 8s. He could be whoever he was. He's that good. I genuinely think he could play for pretty much anyone.
And are you of the feeling that if anyone's in for him, it is more likely to be Arsenal than Tottenham? Just bearing in mind, are Tottenham in for him like they're in for Brian in Burmo? We know that they can pay the £65 million up front. They did it with Solanke last year. But in terms of the Cameroonians' wage demands, they couldn't match what Manchester United were going to pay. I mean, Eze, in all fairness, is not going to be going there for 15 grand a week. Not saying that that's what they pay, but you know what I mean? It's going to be an expensive deal to do.
Yeah, look, Spurs have spent a lot of money in terms of transfer fees over the years, but not wages.
Not the wages, yeah.
And that's something which, if they do want to get to where they were, look, well done for them for winning the Europa League. I thought it was a poor Europa League. I thought it was a poor final. And they were the least worst side of the 2, really. That's probably the best way to say it. But they won the competition. They beat.
The problem is, it's very difficult to sort of argue against that because it was, and everyone you speak to says the same thing. It was a terrible final. Not that Tottenham fans care, by the way.
No, and they shouldn't. They won the trophy, and not just for the next year, but for the next 4, 5, 6 years. The sort of the monkey off the back is there in terms of that they don't win trophies. And it's not their fault that Lazio beat Bodo Glimt, and it's not their fault that Athletic Bilbao lost to Manchester United. They beat who was in front of them, so they did the job. But the league form was so bad, and that's where I'm fascinated to see how Thomas Frank would do. I think he's earned his stripes. I think he's ready to take the next step. Oliver Glasner probably would have been my number 1 choice. I've been so impressed with him. And obviously he's won the Europa League as well and knows how to combine a top European competition with a top league as well. But I think in terms of Eze, you've got to go where the best team is. And whether Spurs fans like to hear this or not, yes, they are in the Champions League, but I'd much rather be joining Arsenal than I would Tottenham.
Arsenal have allowed players to go at the end of the season. Jorginho's obviously left. A couple of younger players have also moved out. Kieran Tierney has gone. He's gone to Celtic. Raheem Sterling's gone back to Chelsea. Neto's gone back to Bournemouth. Nuno Tavares has been transferred to Lazio. Marquinhos, who we didn't really see too much of, has gone back to Brazil. They haven't brought anybody in yet. If they are going to sustain a title challenge for yet another year, they are going to have to do some business, and some business that bolsters and improves their squad. Where?
Yeah, look, Arsenal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's striker. It's absolutely striker. I mean, Christian Norgard, you know, he's going to be there. Looks like Zubamendi will come in as well. There's talks about bringing in the Valencia defender Mosquera, and for me, they have to get the striker. I mean, it's boring because everyone's saying it all the time, but
does that do enough? If you get the two holding midfield players in Norgard and sorry, you mentioned the other
Zubamendi,
and Mosquera, who stiffens the defence and adds an extra option there. You've got a lot of defensive players again, and Mikel Arteta's got this thing right. If you go back over the course of the last 5 years that he's been in charge, 6 years he's been in charge, there's a lot of defenders that have been signed.
Yeah.
Right? Not so many attackers.
No.
And that's sort of quite frustrating for Arsenal supporters, I think. But in order for them to be competitive, it's not just about stiffening things up, is it? It's about making sure that they have that breakthrough. When they drew too many games last year. We've said this 100 times. They've got to find that way of getting through a very difficult defence. The killer instinct needs to be there.
So that's where I go back to what I said about Michael Owen. You know, he's that player that can turn draws into wins, and that's what they need. And look, I genuinely don't fear for Arsenal in terms of getting a striker. They're not idiots. They will be idiots if they don't get a striker, and they're not idiots. They will get it. They're just trying to get a right price, both in terms of transfer fee and in terms of salary. Whether that's Sesko, whether that's Gyökeres, we'll have to wait and see. But they have to get that striker. And if money is a problem, then don't bother bolstering your defence, and don't bother bolstering your midfield, because there's a decent enough squad. In an ideal world, of course, who wouldn't want a Norgard coming in, or Zubamendi coming in, and maybe even a Mosquera coming in? But you need that number 9.
Do you know what's fascinating? With Norgard and Zubamendi coming in, it does raise the question where they're going to play Declan Rice. I know that obviously it looks as if Thomas Partey is going to leave the club, so that means there's one less defensive midfield position there, so they're filling it with 2. But I do think that it means that they quite like the idea of him moving further forward and getting involved in the more attacking sense of the game.
I think that's his best position.
Yeah.
You know, that 8, that box to box, and he can do everything. I think he's brilliant in the holding role, but actually I still think he's got the shackles off when he's playing in that role. You know, I saw him at West Ham many, many times, and he would drag games by the scruff of the neck, and he was able to score goals at times. I remember him scoring a great goal. I can't remember who was against, but in Europe, and it was just a run and a brilliant little dink and turn and then a good finish as well. He's got pretty much everything, Declan Rice, and I think number 8 is his best position.
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel, I think, is sort of in his mind thinking, I would like to find somebody else to play a little bit deeper so I can push him further on.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see what's in England.
That's an England discussion for another day.
There's a long England discussion there about whether you have that sort of 6 and 2 8s or whether you go a 4-2-3-1, and do you drop a Cole Palmer and a Phil Foden. But that is his best position, Declan Rice. I think if you want to get the very best out of him, you put him as that one of those 2 sort of attacking midfielders. But it's about what's best for the club. I'll go back to it. You know, if you're struggling in terms of justifying a transfer fee, or you feel that in any way a PSR reason,
they can't be Arsenal.
I don't think they can.
I don't think
they can.
They haven't spent a huge amount of money, have they?
I don't think. Well, obviously Declan Rice was a lot of money. Yeah, but the bottom line is, if there is any financial issue, put all your money on red.
Yeah,
and that's the number 9.
Yeah,
you know, that's the difference, because Liverpool are strengthening, City looks strong again. And there's a danger now that Arsenal won't even finish second, let alone first.
03717223344. Arsenal fans, are you prioritising the wrong positions again with the signing of Norgard and Christian Mosquera and Kepa Arrizabalaga, Martin Zubamendi, all very defensive players? Or are we just waiting to get those exciting flair players through the door? Eze, possibly. And a striker too. How important is it that happens before we start the season in the middle of August? 03717 223344. Text us 81089. You can X us at talkSPORT. You can get in touch via WhatsApp as well. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd like to get your viewpoints and feedback. 03717 223344.
two.
It is talkSPORT. The reunion of the century starts next week, and we're giving you the chance to win a pair of Oasis tickets to Manchester on July the 19th. Yes, you heard that right. Oasis Live 2025 is sold out, but talkSPORT can get you in. It's not all. Alongside the tickets, we'll put you up for a night in a hotel, put $5,000 in your back pocket, completely tax-free. And if you listen right now, you'll get all the details and exactly how to enter.
Alright, kid. You have to be over 18 to enter in the UK, excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win a pair of tickets to the most electrifying rock and roll reunion of the century, a hotel stay, and $5,000 spending money, all you got to do is text the word Oasis to 83338 by Monday the 7th of July at 11 p.m. and you'll be entered into the draw to go supersonic this summer. Sorted. Right, here's all the legal stuff. Text costs £2 plus plus one standard network rate message. You've got to have the bill payer's permission or post your name and number to Oasis Prize Draw, PO Box 3190, Colchester, CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 10th of July. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com.
Talk Sports, and it's Sam Matterface and Scott Minto.
By the way, Noel Gallagher was brilliant this morning.
Yeah, very good.
Jason, he absolutely tucked Jamie up. It was great. It was a really good listen.
By the way, when I was a little bit sort of cutting it fine this morning, I was racing through the door of the news building.
You made it on air by 30 seconds, Sam.
I did. It was tight. It was
very tight.
It was probably the tightest I've ever been.
It's the sweatiest I've ever seen you
to make a show. But yeah, obviously, you'd think, they know I'm going to be a little bit late. They know there's a train problem. So the breakfast presenters, they'll stick around. Yeah, they'll hang out and make sure everything's okay. As I'm walking out the building, O'Hara's walking out the building as well. And I was like, didn't want to just make sure that everything was okay. He went, oh, mate, Cundy's in there shouting, has anyone seen Sam Matterface?
Jace was willing to stay. Jamie was probably trying to get his tickets.
Jamie was off, mate. He was gone.
Not Gallagher.
Right, okay, we're talking Tottenham and Arsenal. This is from Sean, who sends us a text. Mark my words, he says. Arsenal won't even make the top four, and at the end of the season, Arteta will be sacked. Morning, gents. In regards to Eze, please remind Scott Minto, Spurs finished above Arsenal in 6 of the last 9 seasons, and we won a trophy a few weeks ago. They last won a trophy 5 years ago. It's not a no-brainer that it's being made out to be. Come on, new Spurs. PD in Devon.
Do you know what? Isn't that the beauty of football and the tribalism? But I think if you ask 10 footballers and ex-players and line them up, who would you rather play for, Arsenal or Spurs at this moment in time? I think they go for Arsenal. Unless Jamie O'Hara, of course, is one of them.
Arsenal supporting producer has just whispered in my ear, 6 of the last 9, but how many of the last 3?
It's all about the here and now, Sam.
Andrew's a Spurs fan. Hello.
Good morning. Cracking show. Look, I'm not into tribalism. Arsenal played the best football. They didn't have a striker. Why? You're not asking the right question. Why did Liverpool win? Goals. They scored more goals. That's why they won. Arsenal are a great side. They play great football. Arteta loves the Guardiola style. Big midfield players hold the ball. He had to be supported or make the decision to buy the striker in January. They'd have won. And if you look at the greatest player, who tragically has had awful injuries, Jesus was on fire. He's taken to the World Cup. He gets the knee injury. He never recovers. And since that point, Arsenal had never bought a striker. We Spurs, we had a striker. We had a good time, Harry Kane. We haven't replaced him. We've got Richarlison, who spends more time laying down at work than an OnlyFans model. Regardless of the cost, 2 proven expensive strikers. Just do it. Chelsea bought Diego Costa. He wasn't nice, but he just filled a hole to score goals and be nasty. That's what they got to do if they're going to win. And we're, Tottenham, we're the Norwich of the year 2025-26. Mid-table mediocrity is where we're going to live.
Well, Norwich would love that if they were in the Premier League in mid-table. You do have Dominic Solanke leading the line as well. So, I mean, you do have a striker and someone who actually played well in a lot of the big games that you had last season. Ryan is an Arsenal fan. Cheers, Andrew. Appreciate your call. Ryan is an Arsenal fan. He joins us now. Hello.
Oh, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you've got a very different viewpoint, haven't you, to Andrew? He says you would have won the league if you had signed a striker in January. You don't think they need a striker at all?
No, I do think there's a lot of games where we could have done with one. But there's also a lot of games with teams playing a low block at home that you could have put Haaland in there and he wouldn't have scored because we didn't create no chances. So I just think we played too slow through midfield a lot of the time. And I think signing... Sorry, I'm just trying to find someone. Trying to play through midfield, signing of Zubimendi makes a lot of sense because he'll pass the ball forward a lot more rather than sideways and backwards. And I think also getting another left winger to complement Havertz would also work just as well as getting a number 9. Because if you look at Sesko's numbers, they're not a lot better than what Havertz were.
So you're saying that Arsenal don't need a number 9?
No, don't think that getting one's going to hurt us. But can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we keep dropping out, but go on.
That's my hands free. Yeah, no, I don't think that. I think getting a striker is obviously going to help us, but I don't think that you go and buy an out-and-out number 9 who you can get it into. That's going to change everything. I do think that the base midfield and left wing's just as much as a priority.
Well, I must admit, I couldn't disagree more, to be honest with you. I think if there's just one signing that Arsenal need to make, it is that number 9. I kind of feel for Kai Havertz. Obviously, he was injured for a lot of the season, but there's a lot of pressure put on him to be that goal scorer, and that's actually not his game. He's not that number 9. He's that sort of number 10. He can, in Germany, he was playing off the right, and he could be.
He played everywhere.
False 9.
He played in central midfield. He plays a number 10. He plays a false 9. He played as a left-sided player, right-sided player, everywhere. He did play everywhere. But he's never really buttoned down a single position.
But it's almost like it's on him to be that goal scorer, and that's not his game. That's my point. So once you get that number 9, and then everybody, I think it's all there in place. I do. I mean, look, I love Eze as a player, so I'd still, if that's a possibility and it doesn't have a problem financially, I'd still get him because I think he's that good. He can be anywhere, across that sort of in midfield or out wide. But you do need that number 9. It's all about putting the ball in the back of the net, and you can create chances. But you need someone who is able to do that.
And look, we're 27th of June, so it may well be that they get someone and they've got a target and they know who they are getting. And actually, I like Mikel Arteta, and I'm very impressed with what he's done because I think he's dragged them from a sort of a period of not irrelevance, but sort of there were the also runs, and now they're very much involved in the conversation.
Sam, he must be pulling his hair out. He must be behind the scenes.
It does look like it might be difficult to pull that hair out, though, doesn't it? That doesn't move that hair.
No greys there either, are there?
There's a few more than there was when he started. But I do agree with Alex who's texted. He says, Arsenal aren't prioritising incorrectly. The team lacks depth. Norgard for Jorginho, Zubamendi for Partey. Partey staying would have played George's minutes. Mosquera is depth for Saliba, who played nearly all the available minutes last season. It's tactical uses of a PSR budget. All low-value backup signings happening in 24-25 with Zubamendi official. Left wing and striker are still happening in 25-26 budget. It's clever without with thought about when thought about logically without any media bias. That's all okay as long as those things happen. That's the key thing, right? Because as we speak right now, none of those things have happened yet. So until they do, we can't say that it is clever. But if they are put that squad together, we're in a situation where they have moved on to the next step.
Sam, it will happen. I said this earlier. They're not idiots. They know they have to. And I think that's a really intelligent text, actually, because we talked about Leicester and the PSR and do they want to sack 2 managers within the same sort of year, financial year? Well, it's only a few days away from being the next financial year. So I 100%, if you're going to go that big boy, which I think they will, I genuinely think they will. I don't know who they're going to do in the end, whether it be a Sesko or Gyökeres, but I absolutely believe that they will. And yeah, look, it's all about opinions, but I couldn't disagree more with the previous caller in terms of they don't need a number 9.
Well, you'll disagree with this guy as well, who says Arsenal do not need a number 9. They need Saka to track back less and be more of a goal scorer. They need to do with Saka what Liverpool do with Salah, and it takes away from the number 9.
Salah is... They're 2 different players, even though they play in the same position. Saka is so creative, and he's a brilliant player, and I love watching him play. Salah's a player of moments, and he picks and chooses his time in the game as to when he can be that match winner. Ruud Gullit used to say to us, I just want you to be a person, or sort of to the forwards, 2 things. I want you to do 2 things in a game that can affect the match. Mo Salah does that and some. And sometimes he can go through periods... I understand where Troy, comes from when he says what he says about Salah. Look, he's a world-class player, and I'd have him in a world 11. But he's a player of moments. Saka is someone he's very much different, and he's not quite as clinical as Mo Salah as well. But yeah, again, if you can get those depth in terms of midfielders, in terms of defenders, all day long, I'd take it. But what's the one signing they need? That's the number 9, and I believe it will happen. Not just before the season starts or before the transfer window ends. I think it will come well before the season starts.
Tony Gannon suggesting that they're not the only club that are in for a number 9. He's saying Liverpool don't play with a central striker, ... But that might change this summer. as well. Cheers, Tony. Thank you very much for getting in touch. 03717223344 is the number to call. Lots to talk about, including Ronaldo and his new bumper Saudi contract. We're going to speak to Marcus Buckland before midday as well about the Wimbledon draw.
According to Pep Guardiola, Man City haven't been this good for a very long time.
We can do it again.
Apart from that fluid 5-2 win over Juventus at the Club World Cup, something else that's put the rest of the Premier League on alert, Rodri's back as well.
I'm happy to make good 60 minutes and hopefully he can again help us.
City now face Al Hilal in the Club World Cup last 16 on Tuesday. As the knockout phase gets underway, talkSPORT's coverage continues with Benfica versus Chelsea tomorrow night. Back home, the red half of Manchester can breathe a sigh of relief. It looks like Brian Mbeumo is close to signing.
We understand he's set to undergo his medical at Manchester United next week. They're finalising a package. It's worth more than the $62.5 million that Manchester United paid for Matheus Cunha.
And ahead of the Lions' first match of their tour down under, our reporter Alfie Reynolds is on the scene to ask coach John Fogarty if everyone's pulled up OK in training.
Yeah, we've got a clean bill of health, which is good. And yeah.
Was Mac Hansen out there today?
Mac was not pulled, Mac was just held back for today. So he's fine, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a little bit of management. He's good to go for tomorrow.
There's loads more from Australia on talkSPORT's Lions Uncaged podcast. The British and Irish Lions versus Perth's Western Force is live and exclusive to talkSPORT tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
Yeah, very good morning to you. Sam Matterface and Scott Minto here today. FA Cup winner Scott Minto.
By the way, we're sort of at half time, really, aren't we? We're halfway through the 3-hour show. I haven't actually mentioned about your cowboy boots.
My cowboy boots.
Can we have a look at the cowboy boots?
There's a backstory behind it.
Anybody who's watching on YouTube and their smart TV.
Hold on. I don't just go around wearing cowboy boots.
Do you not?
No. I'm going to in 3-4 weeks time. I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, nice.
I'm getting involved. So I needed a pair of cowboy boots. They're not cowboy.
When you
boots.
say getting involved, what does that mean?
Just do a bit of the old.
What does do a bit mean?
Do a bit of the line dancing.
You're going to do line.
Let your hair down.
Got to get a video of that.
I know. I'll get involved. But I got a pair of cowboy boots, and but you've got to wear them in. I can't just turn up.
Yeah.
Right, so I have to wear them
boots.
in.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would wear them on my stupid journey today. And do you know what? I didn't think anyone would notice because my trousers are pulled down right over the top of them.
Yeah.
No one would notice. But within seconds of walking in, Keelan, the producer, was like, "Whoa, cowboy boots!" Straight away. I was like, "How did he even see that?" But yeah,
he sees everything, Keelan.
He did. So do you want to?
Yeah. Can we?
Okay. For those who are listening on the radio, this is really rubbish, right? But I'm describing it. There's a pair of. They're basically like
colourful,
shoes,
aren't they?
Brown shoes, but then they've got a very colourful bit at the top. Look at that.
Look at that.
They're basically like it's like a teal coloured suede or teal coloured leather above the brown leather with a little pattern on there as well.
And did you go into a cowboy shop? A
cowboy shop in Manchester? No.
Go online or something?
Got them online. I think they're cool.
Did you define it down to two? Was there a reason why that particular colour?
I went for these because these were the most outlandish.
Okay.
Because I thought if you're going to buy a pair of cowboy boots, right, you're probably only going to do that once in your life.
I love that.
You might as well go for it. Go the whole hog.
I want to see the line dancing.
And I did. Anyway, it's time for this.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
We're joined now by Dan Towles from BetMGM to look at today's top sporting events and discuss the latest odds. And Dan, you'll be pleased to know that I was quite happy to get out the cowboy boots in the absence of Salty and Troy Deeney.
Dan, have you got a pair of cowboy boots in your wardrobe?
Randomly, Scott, no, I haven't. But just as I dialed into the show, I thought the biggest sports station in the world, and we've just had 5 minutes on line dancing and cowboy boots.
There you go. It's all about, listen, it's the summer.
How do you follow that?
It's all about eclectic coverage. There you go.
As long as you're happy with them, Sam, that's the main thing.
Right, Lions ahead of the first match down under tomorrow morning. They've got Western Force in Perth. They're going to have to improve from last week's display. Last week's display, by the way, it is worth pointing out, was disrupted by several absences because of domestic cup finals and other commitments.
It was. They were 1-10 to beat Argentina last week, so I think we all sat there expecting it just to be not a walkover, but it should have been fairly more straightforward than it was. As you said, they head to Western Force, where they are 100-1 on this week to beat the team from Perth. They have dominated in this region before. They beat the same side 69-17 back in 2013 and also beat Western Australia in Perth by a record 116 points back in 2001. So history's on their side. As reported earlier on the show, there's 13 changes from the starting 11 last week with Dan Sheehan captaining the side. Based on the market and tour overall, you'd think anything other than a dominant victory will do. Fixtures do come thick and fast post tomorrow. And there's a slightly trickier assignment on Tuesday when they go to Queensland Reds, who finished above Western Force in the table. But in overall terms of the series, Lions are almost 1-3 to win the series. And despite the blip last week, they're only 5-4 to complete the 3-0 whitewash.
And of course, the whole tour is live on the talkSPORT network. So it's the Club World Cup. The group stage is over, now into the last 16. Benfica-Chelsea, big one on Saturday evening. Sunday, PSG against Inter Miami, Infantino's absolute dream. Monday night, Manchester City against Al Hilal, and Tuesday night, Real Madrid against Juventus. Just a selection of the 8 fixtures that are taking place. Who are the favourites?
Man City are our favourites, Sam. Obviously, you mentioned earlier about their victory last night. I think you both said that Juve were a fairly poor side, but that's 3 wins out of 3 in the group. They scored 13 goals. They did look good last night, but they started the tournament's third favourites behind PSG and Real Madrid. but now 11-4 to win the overall title. As you said, they face Al Hilal on Monday and could be on course to face Chelsea if they get past Benfica and one of the Brazilian sides, Palmeiras or Botafogo. Chelsea and City have now earned £35 million, I think it is, for reaching the last 60. So for Chelsea, that's Liam Delap already paid for. If they either go on to the final and win it, that's £97 million they'll win in total. Financially, we've said before, it will please the owners. But Scott, how much of a negative do you think it's going to be for City and Chelsea heading into the new season?
That's a big question we didn't ask earlier.
By the way, that's a great line that Liam Delap will be paid for. That's a fantastic line. Do you know what? From Manchester City's point of view, what I saw last night, Dan, they've got players, not just in terms of their 11 and look like they're playing really well together, but coming off the bench, the depth that they've got. I genuinely think, and I don't normally say that with one game, that they're back. I think they're going to be right up there come the end of the season. And despite it not being an ideal situation, I think Pep knows how to combine these sort of competitions. I worry more for Chelsea. Obviously, I want Chelsea to win the competition. I want them to win the Premier League and the Champions League as well. But I think you're looking at a team that only combined the Premier League and the Europa Conference, which is basically another 11. And whereas this season coming, they're going to have to do the Premier League and the Champions League. Off the back of something like this, I think I'd take the final Champions League spot for Chelsea this time next year.
Yeah, I suppose it's feasible. Both of them could start off on fire the first couple of months of the season, but then there's a risk of burnout towards the back end.
The first 11 is going to be really interesting of the first game of the season because, you've got to give them time off, and they haven't had that. Don't forget, they went straight from, certainly Chelsea, from the final to the internationals, then straight into this competition. There's been no off-season. So they've got to have rest. So the first 11s, I think, is going to be really interesting.
Especially if they go all the way. If they would just go out at this stage of the competition, there'd be 6 weeks between the start of the end of this competition and the start of the season. But if they were to go through beyond this stage, then obviously that rest period, the possible rest period...
July 13 is the final, isn't it? So
yes, indeed. Talking of finals, the European Under-21 tournament is coming to its conclusion Saturday night, England against Germany. What a fantastic game that could prove to be, and England have been brilliant so far, I think.
Yeah, they finished second in the group, which included that defeat to Germany, which I think was 9 days ago. I personally didn't see the game, but all the stats suggested England were fairly dominant. But as we know, it's a final.
They were, and they changed the team as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But it's the Germans, Sam, and they went through the group stage with 3 wins out of 3, beat 3-0 on Wednesday night. So despite that dominant display, I wouldn't be backing against the Germans. Although England are favourites. England favourites are 29-20. The Germans are 8-5, and the draw is just shy of 3-1. I suppose what some of us are probably forgetting, let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago that Lee Carsley was at one point long odds on to be the permanent appointment for the senior team. He's done a fantastic job, and I just hope, fingers crossed, he can lift a second successive title for the England Under-21s.
Fingers crossed, but I don't see England as favourites right now. Germany made 11 changes in their game because they won the first 2 matches, and from what I saw, they were the better side. Nick Woltemade is a very good player. He signed for Bayern Munich already, agreed personal terms. Watch out for him, big striker. But I think that game against Spain was a turning point for England, and I thought they were very good against the Netherlands. Fingers crossed we can do it, but I don't see as favourites.
Interesting. See what happens. It's live on talkSPORT on Saturday. Thank you very much, Dan Towers. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, gents. Have a good weekend.
That was all a look at the latest odds, all thanks to BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
What's happening at West Ham United? I was sitting there on the train earlier on today, and I was looking at some of the West Ham sort of websites and people discussing what was happening. Look, we aren't in the know in terms of boardroom negotiations, but I get the feeling from reading and talking to people at West Ham that there's a little bit of frustration in the air. The window's just opened again. We know it's only the 27th of June. There's still 50 days until the Premier League starts again, but they've lost Cresswell, Sofal, Fabianski, Zuma, Carlos Soler and Ferguson so far. All those were in and around the first team squad, by the way, last year, and they've acquired absolutely no one apart from firming up Tadebo's loan. Where are we at, West Ham fans? 03717223344. It's not the fact that they haven't signed anyone. It's the reports and suggestions that they haven't been making moves to sign anyone yet. I mean, they need an influx of better players anyway, and they certainly need to improve that squad after losing those characters.
Yeah, look, it's another club that I care for deeply, and to see them kind of struggling, I wanted...
Bit of a football floozy, aren't you?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Does that make me a bad person?
No, mate. Yeah, it's fine. You are what you are.
No, we had this conversation. I remember being on air with Faye Carruthers about, she's obviously a big Luton fan, and they've covered a lot of divisions in a short space of time. And I said, well, I support the teams that I played for. And when you wear a shirt that represents a club, for me, that supersedes the team that I supported as a kid. So I want West Ham, and whether it went really well or whether it didn't go so well, for me, it was an honour to have worn that shirt. So I really want West Ham to do well. I wanted Graham Potter to be the manager before Lopetegui, and I was really pleased when he was in. And I still think he's the right man, but I thought he would have made a bigger impact than he did. He obviously looked at it, and he's not coming in fresh now, so he knows exactly what players are like. He must have been part of the decision to let those players go with their contracts. But absolutely, look at where they finished last season, in 14th, and Spurs and United won't be as bad. David Moyes at Everton with a new stadium, I think they'll be bang up for it. You could imagine what the Everton faithful will be like there. And then all the teams above them as well, I think will carry on doing pretty well. I mean, I worry for Brentford. I don't care who comes in for Brentford. I think anyone would kind of struggle if they're losing Burmo, losing Norgard. We'll have to see what the other players and whether they will or not. It looks like Keith Andrews is going to be the manager, and I wish him all the very best. Someone I know really well and consider a mate. But I think even a really experienced manager would struggle. But West Ham at this moment in time, they're not improving. There's no idea to see how they're going to improve on what happened last year.
If you stop time right now and you had a look at it, they would be one of the favourites to be involved in a relegation battle, West Ham, because they were last season. In any other season, they would have been sucked into a problem. They haven't added anybody. They've still got pretty much the same malaise of feeling around the place at the moment. And Graham Potter's got a big job on his hands here. He needs help and he needs players.
Yeah, and look, there's still time. We always want this kind of here and now, and why hasn't anyone signed? And we go back to the sort of it's the financial year just about to
some
finish.
Some people need impact, right? And West Ham are a club that need impact. They need to sort of say, this is a statement,
Sam,
we need to go.
They need results. It's all about results.
Yeah, but
that's
to get
all
results,
that matters.
You need the lift.
Of course you do, but in an ideal world, and again, if you ask any football player, when do they want to sign for a football club? They wanted to sign before day one of pre-season. Football's not like that anymore. To get the best deal, it's going to have to be a little bit later. I would still say to a lot of clubs, and I'm not necessarily talking to West Ham, what you're losing by trying to gain a few million in whether you're buying someone or not, you're losing in that person being able to make that impact, to get to go away in pre-season, to get to know the people, to get to know what the manager wants, to create that bond off the field as well as on the field.
And I haven't said this very often recently, but look at what Manchester United have done. They've gone out, they've gone, right, we're going to get him straight away, and that gives everybody a sort of boost as to, oh, okay, so they do mean business this time around.
Yeah.
And West Ham need that sort of injection.
No, they do, but, Graham Potter, and obviously, with the director of football there, they know each other really well. They'll be working together. But ultimately, it's about who is the owner and how much they want to pay for certain players and that. I would imagine they've got the absolute idea of players that they want. It's all happening or all in discussions at the moment in negotiations. Whether it goes over the line, we'll have to wait and see. But if it doesn't, I do slightly worry for West Ham.
You and I went to Prague. We saw West Ham win that Europa Conference League trophy there. It was a fantastic night. Everyone was, in euphoric after what was a brilliant win. Excellent goal from Jared Bowen. But it feels like they've never capitalised on that. They've only gone one way since, and I think that's a real shame. 03717 2233 44 if you want to get in touch. We're going to talk Wimbledon and a tough draw for Jack Draper next. Who's this? Who did this? Who did this? Look at him. He's sitting there. Look, big arms in there. Keelan, our brilliant producer, who is taking the mickey out of my cowboy boots. Listen, there's nothing wrong with it. Country's cool right now.
Can't wait to see you in Nashville.
Are you coming?
I might do.
Do you know
now.
who's in Nashville?
Do I have to wear a pair of cowboy boots?
You can do, yeah, you can. You know who's in Nashville? Steve Guppy. You know Steve Guppy?
Yeah,
Steve Guppy. He used to play for England, played for Leicester, played for was up at Celtic. Fantastic guy. He rang me the other day. I think Roy and Martin told him that I was coming over, and they'd worked together. He rang me up and he says to me, "I've got loads of stuff for you to do when you're over here."
Loads of line dancing.
Giving me all of the sort. Well, he did. He actually sent me a message about the this line dancing thing that I should go to. He was all over it, mate. It was brilliant.
Oh, mate, I want to see you two line dancing.
By the way,
with
what
each
a
other.
gentleman he is. By the way,
good player.
Fantastic.
By the way, great.
And he was very, very helpful, and he's given us loads of stuff to do out there. He was the coach. He was one of the coaches at Nashville, the soccer club, but he didn't. I think he won. I think he won with Columbus Crew as well, the MLS Cup. Did very well.
So he's still living there, is he?
He's still living there,
Okay.
loves it,
Okay.
absolutely loves it, and he's thriving out there. So thanks very much to him. Right, the Wimbledon draw has been made this morning, and Tom Clayton has a roundup of all the big stories.
The tournament kicks off with defending champion and second seed Carlos Alcaraz taking on Fabio Fognini. Top seed Yannick Sinner will face fellow Italian Luca Nardi. Britain's top hope Jack Draper has never got past the second round at SW19. He'll be hoping that changes with his fourth seed status. He opens his campaign against Argentina's Sebastian Baez, but crucially will avoid both Sinner and Alcaraz until the semi-finals. But he's been drawn on the same side of the bracket as Novak Djokovic, so may have to get through him to even get to the semi-finals. On the women's side of things, defending champion Barbora Krejcikova is only afforded the 17th seed. She'll take on Alexandra Ayala in the first round, but there's concern over her fitness, having withdrawn from Eastbourne this week. Top seed Arina Sabalenka faces Canada's Karsten Brandstein. There are no British seeds in the women's draw, but current British number one Emma Raducanu will take on another Brit, 17-year-old Mimi Xu, in the first round. This year sees 23 Britons across the singles draws, 13 men, 10 women. That's the most at the All England club since 1984. Play gets underway on Monday. Strawberries and cream, anyone?
Very much so. Let's speak to Marcus Buckland, tennis broadcaster, talkSPORT host as well, and he joins us now. Hi, Marcus.
Hey, Sam. How you doing?
Yeah, great to speak to you once again, and great that Wimbledon is just around the corner. And let's start with those big stories about the Brits, because as Tom was saying, it's there's a lot of Brits around, and I suppose with the tennis supporters and the fans having the biggest hope since Andy Murray and world number 4 Jack Draper, his incredible season so far will see a lot of people having all eyes on him, but it's a difficult start.
It's a really tough draw for him, Sam. Yeah, Sebastian Baez, as we heard in Tom's report, who's an Argentinian ranked 38 in the world. Okay, so he should get off to a winning start. But you look at some of the players potentially lying in wait. Second round could be Marin Cilic, who made the final in 2017. Third round, Alexander Bublik, who won the title on the grass in Halle just the other day and beat Jack at the French Open just 2 or 3 weeks ago. If he comes through that, he'll probably play the 15th seed Jakub Mensik, who's an incredibly talented young player. And then, as we were hearing, closing stages, how about Novak Djokovic? Oh, and then Yannick Sinner. And then if you actually want to win Wimbledon, you're going to have to beat Carlos Alcaraz too. If he does win it, he'll definitely do it the hard way.
Absolutely. It doesn't look like one of those England football draws that they've got at the last World Cup or European Championship.
It needs Sir Gareth to get involved somehow.
Yeah. On the women's side, Emma Raducanu, Katie Bolter and Sona Kartel. What does success look like for them at this tournament? Because Emma's had her issues. Katie did very well, but then went out very early in the I think it was in Queens earlier a couple of weeks ago. So what does success look like for them?
Well, it's going to be really tough again, Sam. This is fascinating. I think it's the worst possible draw for Emma Raducanu up against Mimi Xu. She's one of these very talented young British players coming through. There are 3 of them who have been given wild cards this year. She's 17. Okay, Raducanu should win, but it's one of those no-win situations, because if she doesn't, there are going to be major headlines. And if she does, she'll probably face Marketa Vondrousova, the 2023 champion, in the second round. And if she comes through that, she'll probably play the world number 1 Arina Sabalenka. So it's a really tough draw for Raducanu. Sonny Kartel's got Jelena Ostapenko, who's a former French Open champion. She's an extraordinary player, capable of anything. I would not like to predict what's going to happen in that one. And Katie Bolter, has got Paula Badosa, who's the 9th seed. She's had injury problems, but if she's fit, she's good. Keep an eye out also for another of the youngsters, Hannah Klugman, who's just 16. She's got a wild card. And interestingly, she faces the 29th seed, Leila Fernandez of Canada, who actually lost to Raducanu in the US Open final back in 2021.
Just on the two big hitters, we saw one of the best finals in modern history with Sinner Alcaraz going to a tiebreak in the 5th set at Roland Garros not so long ago. Is this tournament set up for those two to dominate again and maybe to provide a episode 2 of what could be a thrilling series?
Well, if you speak to 100 people who would claim to be tennis experts, I'm not one of those, by the way, I think that probably 91 to 92 of them would say that Alcaraz is going to retain his title. He's been magnificent. He came through that 5.5-hour battle against Sinner in Paris, and then he backed it up by winning Queens last week. So he's won 27 of his last 28 matches. Sinner, of course, you do not underestimate him, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if those two are the last two standing. I think Alcaraz is going to come through. We've mentioned Draper's tough draw. I just think that Novak Djokovic could be a fascinating subplot. And it sounds strange to say a subplot about a man who's won 24 slams. He's in the twilight of his career. But everybody else, underestimate him at your peril.
Marcus, that was going to be my question about Djokovic. I mean, obviously, Jack Draper's going to beat him in the quarters, going to beat Sinner in the semis, and going to beat Alcaraz in the final, and can sail off and have a few weeks off. But if he does lose to Djokovic, I mean, where is he right now? Is this almost something that he would welcome and want because Sinner and Alcaraz are so good and gives him the motivation to continue, or not?
It's really interesting, Scott. When he was finally beaten at the French Open, he went down on his knees and he sort of kissed the clay and gave a big farewell wave all around Court Philippe Chatrier. And he was asked afterwards, is that a sign that you're not coming back here? He said, who knows? He sort of, I think, made it pretty clear that he'll obviously play Wimbledon. He'll then go to New York. He still wants that one more Grand Slam title to get to the absolute best of 25. So he's got the motivation. We know about his desire. Can his body hold up over 2 weeks and 7 matches, particularly when at the end of a fortnight, he's got to face the might of the likes of Sinner and Alcaraz and Draper. So common sense would say no, but Novak Djokovic is a cut above common sense, which is why I just don't want to write him off heading into this fascinating fortnight.
Marcus, thank you very much for joining us once again. Appreciate that. It's Marcus Buckland joining us to discuss the draw for Wimbledon, which has come out today. It's fascinating, isn't it? Because grass courts add an extra dimension to it. A lot of the players prefer the hard courts because you can judge the ball perfectly. But when it comes to the grass courts, just a little bit more unpredictable, a little bit faster sometimes as well.
Great day. It's a great day out. I'm not able to get tickets. I mean, my missus got out the draw. Her name came out first about a good few years ago now, and we watched Andy Murray play in the year he got injured.
Yeah, and
then didn't play for a very long time. But what a day out!
It's a terrific experience to go to Wimbledon. This is talkSPORT. We're going to speak Brighton, not too distant future as well. We've got Ruud van Nistelrooy parting ways with Leicester City today, and Emil Heskey will join us before 12:30.
According to Pep Guardiola, Man City haven't been this good for a very long time.
We can do it again. I had the feeling that the players, it's my opinion, it's the players felt, I don't have to tell them, felt that in that way we can compete like it happened in the last decade.
Apart from that fluid 5-2 win over Juventus at the Club World Cup, something else that's put the rest of the Premier League on alert, Rodri's back as well.
When the best player in the world is not in one team, always is missed. So that is clear. But I'm happy to make good 60 minutes and hopefully he can again help us. Yeah, a lot like always happened since arrive.
City now face Al Hilal in the Club World Cup last 16 on Tuesday. As the knockout phase gets underway, talkSPORT's coverage continues with Benfica versus Chelsea tomorrow night. Back home, the red half of Manchester can breathe a sigh of relief. It looks like Brian Mbeumo is close to signing.
We understand he's set to undergo his medical at Manchester United next week. They're finalising a package. It's worth more than the 62.5 million that Manchester United paid for Matheus Cunha.
Meanwhile, a former Man United player cleared up a 20-year-old England debate when he spoke to the boys on Drive.
Who would you have played at Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes? You've only got two.
Do I have to answer that?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Listen, all three top legends of their clubs.
Yeah, we know that, Tom. We know that, right?
Come
on, who's the two?
Scholes, Gerrard.
And ahead of the Lions' first match of their tour down under, our reporter Alfie Reynolds is on the scene to ask Coach John Fogarty if everyone's pulled up OK in training.
Yeah, we've got a clean bill of health, which is good. And yeah.
Was Mac Hansen out there today?
Mac was not pulled. Mac was just held back for today, so he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He's a little bit of management. He's good to go for tomorrow.
There's loads more from Australia on talkSPORT's Lions Uncaged podcast. The British and Irish Lions versus Perth's Western Force is live and exclusive to talkSPORT tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
Hello, very good afternoon to you. It's Friday afternoon, wherever you are in the world, whatever you are doing. Thank you very much for choosing White and Jordan with Sam Matterface today and Scott Minto. We're live on talkSPORT through till 1 o'clock, and lots still to come, including the Brighton manager Fabian Hertzler joining us live, and Emil Heskey, the former Leicester and England forward, joining us to talk a little bit about Ruud van Nistelrooy and the future for Leicester City. By the way, I've had a few text messages about the old boots. And you know what Alan and Ray are like on a Friday morning. Sometimes they give me a little bit of stick for being Little Sam, but they say that because I hang around with the big oaf.
Well, everyone's little next to him.
Exactly,
yeah.
Right? Okay. Someone suggested that I only got the boots, not anything to do with going over to Nashville, but just to raise my height by a couple of inches.
Let's have a look at the heels.
The heels aren't that big, are they?
To be fair, they could be a lot longer.
They could be a lot bigger, couldn't they?
Yeah.
I could have extended myself a little bit more than that, but I haven't.
So what are you now, 5'7" now?
Give over. I'm not even that small.
We should just mention the oaf as well. He's just sent a photo, hasn't he? He's Accra aerobics done, now onto the daiquiris.
He's having a terrible summer, that fella, isn't he?
With a picture. It's not a pretty picture.
Anyway, I must say, these boots are made for walking. And talking of walking, Brighton are involved in a big charity walk this week. Buzz's charity walk, 35 miles. The kit man and his team are doing it, pushing the kit skips around to celebrate 35 years of the Brighton and Hove Albion Foundation. And the Brighton manager, Fabian Hertzler, has joined us now. Hi, Fabian.
Yes, Steve. Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much for coming on. This is really important, isn't it, about Brighton getting involved in the community? And the kit men are very, very important people to the fabric of the football club. And Buzz is doing a big thing here, walking 35 miles, lugging the kit around.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable work, like what Buzz and especially the kitman did in the last season. I think they did the work in the shadow, and it's now a big chance to say thank you for them and to say thank you to the opportunity they gave us. And I think the the idea of having a walk and supporting the foundation shows that we are all connected in this club, that we really try to support each other, that we try to help each other. And we have all a very privileged life, and it's about us now to give something back. And Bus gave us a great opportunity, so I'm very thankful for doing that.
You talked a lot about the connection between the club and the community, and that is really important, isn't it? Especially down in Brighton, and I think it's something that you've been involved with quite a lot since moving to the club.
Yeah, we just had a conversation with some guys here in the foundation, and they emphasized the word togetherness, and I think that's exactly what we are standing for. It's we, then me, and that's what we try to do the whole season. I think since Brighton was built as a football club, we try to emphasize this word togetherness, and we know that we only can be successful as a team, as a player, and also as me as a coach when we work together. So I think these days like today are so important to show it, to really live it, because on the one side you can say words, but on the other side it's about daily behavior, and things like this really show that we are really keen on having a good connection to our supporters, having a good connections to our fans, and therefore it's a great opportunity today for everyone to keep pushing this connection.
And those connections and that togetherness can only help further success, and of course ambition on the pitch is certainly at the top of your agenda next season. What are you hoping to achieve with Brighton next campaign?
I think it's important to continue to work on the foundation we built so far. We had a season with a lot of highs, but also with some lows. It's about getting more consistency in the performances, getting more consistency in the results, and trying to develop the players, trying to develop the group, and then I'm sure long term the results will come.
Fabian, I mean, you talk about highs and lows. I can think of that Forest game, the 7-0, and then you're straight after is 6 wins on the spin, including or as well as the first point ever against Manchester City that Brighton have done in the Premier League era. What would you say? You came in, you're the youngest permanent head coach in the Premier League history. What's the one thing that kind of hit you about the Premier League?
A lot of things hit me, but I think the thing that surprised me most is like every week is a big challenge. So you can't go to any game and think you can win this game with 95% or even 99%. It's always about being on the highest level. It's always about being the best prepared team. It's always about pushing your limits every weekend, and that's what we try to do. And that's what I didn't expect, that we have to go with this intensity, with these standards into the games, and that's something what I really learned this season. I'm looking forward to the next season, because I'm still thinking I can learn a lot together with the team. We can grow together, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah, how much do you think that you learned in that first season that you're taking to your second campaign? Because there was a lot going on, wasn't there?
Yeah, a lot of things, and I think it's very important to have also a lot of lows, because in the lows, in these bad phases, and when you have these bad experiences, then you learn the most. And when everything is going smooth and everything is going easy, then it's easy to be a head coach. But especially in these moments when it's getting tough, that I learned the most. And now I have more experience. Now I know it's a different atmosphere. I face now several teams, so hopefully we can build on these experiences we made. We can build on the foundation we've built, and then let's see what we can achieve the next season.
From a player's point of view, Fabian, I would have respected you a lot when you came in and kind of almost just tore up the plan that you did with Forest, and then obviously you can see what the players did after that with you, and those sort of 6 wins. How have the players reacted to you, and how have you been able to sort of get the very best out of them, even if some of them are older than you?
I always call it like the friendly authority. So on the one side, I think it's very important to listen to the players, because especially the older players, they're older than me, they have more experience than me, they know how to win things, and therefore I think it's really important to listen to them, to take care of them, to try to convince them by the power of the idea, because there are always two things for me. If a player really has the feeling that you listen to them, and second of all that you try to make them better, I think then the players buy in, and that's what I try to do. And friendly authority, because the second part is the authority part. So on the one side you need to be friendly, you need to listen to them, and need to try to convince them by the why, but on the other side you need to be very clear how you want to lead. You need to have like clear principles, clear values, and then you have to be very consequent, because if you are not consequent, then you have a problem. So therefore, I would summarize it as friendly authority.
You've brought in a few players to try and knock the team on next season. In terms of young players, you've brought quite a few. Tommy Watson, who scored in the playoff final, had already committed his future to Brighton before he even left Sunderland, and left them with a brilliant parting gift. What was that like for you, watching that, knowing that he was going to be part of your team going forward?
I'm very happy for him, because I know that he suffered a little bit. He was not happy how things went on, but he showed a great reaction. He was the match winner. He scored the most important goal for Sunderland, and therefore I'm really happy that he finished in that way, because I think it's very important to say goodbye to a club in a positive way, and to say goodbye to the fans and the supporter that keeps you in their mind in a positive way. So therefore I'm really happy for him, and now we're really looking forward to work with him. He's a young guy with big potential. He needs to be very humble. He needs to be grounded. He needs to get integrated into the team, and then I'm sure that he will help us with his freshness. That will help us with his skills, with his speed, with his ability to go 1-against-1, to score goals, to make assists. So I'm really looking forward to working with him.
Have you seen much of the Euro under-21s, and will you be watching the final as well? Have you spoken to Jack?
Yeah, for sure. I watch it a lot.
Excellent.
I'm in touch with him.
Excellent, Fabian. Thank you very much. We know we've got to let you go, but cheers for joining us, and good luck for the rest of you and the rest of the walk as you aim to raise some money for the Brighton and Hove Albion Foundation. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, good luck.
All right, perfect. Thanks.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Fabian Herzler, joining us live on talkSPORT from the walk, as the Brighton kitman Alex Buzz Burrows leads the 35-mile walk with the skips, with all the kit in it. And kitmen are really
no cowboy
important,
boots in there, mate.
There might be some cowboy boots in there. You don't know. You haven't been in that skip.
Okay. We'll ask him.
They might be wearing some cowboy boots. You know, I imagine that Fabian Herzler could pull off a pair of cowboy boots.
Do you know what? I reckon he probably could.
Yeah.
Who knows? You may be seeing in Nashville, but just looking at the table at the last season.
I know.
8th.
Could you believe that he said the way he came across? We've had a few lows. I was like, they finished 8th, but that's the standard, right? But that's the standard,
mate. That is the Premier League. You can have highs and lows, and you can be in a particular dark period and think, when's this going to end, and yet they end up finishing 8th. I think it's going to be difficult. They spent a lot of money, of course, last summer for the first time, where they really kind of went for it, and yet
but they couldn't they? Because they'd accumulated a lot of wealth
absolutely.
over the years.
But my point is, how do you then break in? I mean, Forest obviously had a wonderful season last season. That was a bit of an outlier there, but you would imagine. I mean, United are going to be. Are they going to be top 8? I don't know. Tottenham with combining, I don't know, but they'll definitely be a lot better.
They will be furious that they drew so many games. Because if they drew 13 matches, if they had maybe just turned 2 of those into wins, they would have been top 5.
Yeah. If my auntie had an Adam's apple, she'd be my uncle.
Yeah. Let's see what's happening. This is talkSPORT.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do.
I'm the only person in the entire world who's ever bought a pair of Cowboy. You would definitely wear those.
Very good.
You basically look like you should be wearing those. Why are you giving me stick about it?
With those curtains he's got.
Crikey.
Yeah.
He still dresses like the 90s and he's having a go at me. Unbelievable. Better than the 50s, he said in my ear.
Yeah, this is producer Keeling talking about.
I'm talking about him. Yeah, not you. He's giving me stick from behind the glass, which is out of order. Let's talk about Leicester City because they have fired Ruud van Nistelrooy. They say it's a mutual parting, but let's be clear. If it was, he wouldn't be leaving now. Let's speak to Emil Heskey, the former Leicester and England forward. Emil, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
Thank
good,
you.
mate.
Nice to see you. Leicester City, this is a problem, isn't it? Another manager goes, no plan about what's happening next as far as we understand, but most importantly, Emil, no communication, proper communication with the supporters to tell them what the strategy is.
Yeah, look, I think it's been a difficult time. I think from when they came up, it was going to be tough. Everyone knew that with everything hanging over their heads. And then the manager leaving at the end of the season, and then new manager coming in, and it didn't really click, especially with the squad that they had, and especially not being able to add to the squad. And then Ruud coming in, and it was another difficult time for him because the reality is a lot of loans were coming in, and we weren't really able to add to what he possibly wanted and possibly how he wanted to play. So inevitably, it's a very big gulf when you're coming up into the Premier League. So you've got to be able to spend a bit of money to really compete. Gone are the times where, like when we came up, that you can really start challenging and stay top off of the table. I think that's gone now. I think when you're coming up, you've got to be able to spend a fair bit of money to really bring in the right players to have a go.
Emil, talk us through the mindset of a player where you're just about to start pre-season, you're a couple of days away from that, and then the manager's been sacked. You were kind of half expecting it, but you go into day one of pre-season. What are you thinking?
That's going to be a tough time because, again, your leader, the person that's actually supposed to be taking you on that journey to try and get back up or to survive or whatever it may be, is gone. And now you're thinking, what's happening? Is the next person, what sort of football they play? What do they like me? Am I going to be gone? Am I going to be promoted? Whatever it may be, you're going to have all these emotions going through your head. So it's going to be a difficult time for the players. It's going to be a difficult time for the club. It would be great to try and announce someone soon, so then they can be settled. The fans can be settled. The fans can understand where the club's going, etc.
One of the big things that people have been talking about here this morning is exactly that. Where is the club going next? And some people were rather fearful about the possibility that they could replicate what Luton Town did, which was go down from the Premier League and then go straight down to League One in the same season. How likely, in your opinion, is that possibility?
I think that will happen. I think we've got enough at the club already that can actually fight. It'll be a big ask to try and come back straight back up. But I don't foresee us going back, going down again.
Emil, what you know about it, there's players there on big money. They won't want to go because they won't earn that money again. There's other players who might not be attracted to Leicester because of the uncertainty, apart from the fact of there is no manager at the particular moment in time. I feel the biggest key thing, and I appreciate what you're saying about not back-to-back relegations, but we didn't think Luton would have that.
Yeah.
The biggest appointment for me, or the biggest thing that they can do right, is getting the right person now as manager. Who would you, or if not naming someone, what type of manager do they need right now?
I think they need someone who understands the fight, understands the city a little bit, because again, you've got to understand the fan base and understand who Leicester are as a club. and understand the fight that's going to go on in the Championship. I played in the Championship with Bolton, and it's tough, it's relentless. And it's only going to get even more tougher because of the money that's available when you go up. Everyone wants to have a go. So you need someone who understands that fight that's going to be had week in, week out. I know there's a load of names being bandied around, but anyone who understands the fight, understands the city, and understands what the fans actually want. The fans are fantastic. They'll be there every week. As long as they see a bit of fight about them, as long as they see players that are giving 110%, the fans will be there for you, not a problem. We've got the best training facility in the country, and we've got a fantastic stadium. So there's two things that will attract a certain level of players anyway. But again, I think we're just going to have to change up our tactics in the sense of who we're actually going for and what can we attract.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people have mentioned Sean Dyche, although that's been sort of pushed aside and suggested that's not the case. Danny Roll was in conversations yesterday, we understand it, to organise an exit from Sheffield Wednesday. He has also been linked with the position at Leicester. If he was someone that they targeted, do you think that would be a good fit?
Again, Sheffield Wednesday have been a club that have had their own battles, haven't they? So they've not been able to really delve into spending, and they've done okay. So yeah, you look at the manager that's had problems off the pitch, but managed to still galvanise a squad and have a go and have a fight. So whoever it is, they've got to understand the fight that they're in. When it comes to Leicester, you've got a fan base that are demanding, but will back you. So, and you've got a team that need to really start pushing again and really start to show what they're capable of doing. We've seen it. They came up 2 seasons ago, and some of the players are still there. So we've seen that they are capable of doing that, but we need to see it on a more regular basis.
Emil, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate that. The former Leicester and England star, Emil Heskey, and the last person that I had dinner with before lockdown. We were in a restaurant having dinner when the announcement was made about please go home. It was sort of like the recommendation.
Alex Crook regularly gets that in restaurants. Please go home.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. But yeah, he was the last other person outside of my family that I saw for that period. Amazing. Wow. Weird. The latest podcast in talkSPORT's After the Lights Go Out series is available now to download. Former Arsenal and England women's striker Leanne Sanderson is the feature of this episode. And the conversation with Steve Harmison and Leon McKenzie covers a range of issues, including working in the media, dealing with abuse on social media, and coming out as the first openly gay female footballer. Here, Leanne discusses the lack of openly gay footballers in the Premier League.
People ask me a lot, like, oh, do you think we'll ever see? Now, we've got Jake Daniels, Josh Cavello, which is amazing. And it shouldn't be diminished because they don't play in the Premier League. But they do exist in the Premier League. They do. Like, the statistics are 1 in 4 person identifies with the LGBTQ plus community. So you're telling me that on every team there's not at least a couple. But they shouldn't feel forced. And I think we're moving away, thankfully, from people putting, big stories on the front of newspapers like witness protection. We know who you are. Because can you imagine how it must feel for a male player currently playing in the Premier League that's not able to be who they are? Like, it must impact the way they feel every day and performance. So, I don't know. I hope that we live in a day where there will be an active Premier League player that comes out when they feel comfortable, they feel protected, they feel supported. Because I don't think, if I was a player playing in the men's game now, would I come out? Probably not.
That is the latest edition of After the Lights Go Out with Leanne Sanderson. She's joining Steve Harmison and Leon McKenzie to talk all things to do with her journey. It's available to download now from all the usual podcast providers. Coming up, we'll be talking about Miles Lewis-Skelly and renewing his contract at Arsenal. And we'll head off to Switzerland ahead of the European Championships, which starts next week.
According to Pep Guardiola, Man City haven't been this good for a very long time.
We can do it again.
Apart from that fluid 5-2 win over Juventus at the Club World Cup, something else that's put the rest of the Premier League on alert, Rodri's back as well.
I'm happy to make good 60 minutes and hopefully he can again help us.
City now face Al Hilal in the Club World Cup last 16 on Tuesday. As the knockout phase gets underway, talkSPORT's coverage continues with Benfica versus Chelsea tomorrow night. Back home, the red half of Manchester can breathe a sigh of relief. It looks like Brian Mbeumo is close to signing.
We understand he's set to undergo his medical at Manchester United next week. They're finalising a package. It's worth more than the 62.5 million that Manchester United paid for Matheus Cunha.
And ahead of the Lions' first match of their tour down under, our reporter Alfie Reynolds is on the scene to ask coach John Fogarty if everyone's pulled up OK in training.
Yeah, we've got a clean bill of health, which is good. And yeah.
Was Mac Hansen out there today?
Mac was not pulled, Mac was just held back for today. So he's fine, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a little bit of management. He's good to go for tomorrow.
There's loads more from Australia on talkSPORT's Lions Uncaged podcast. The British and Irish Lions versus Perth's Western Force is live and exclusive to talkSPORT tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
The reunion of the century, it starts next week, and we're giving you the chance to win a pair of Oasis tickets in Manchester on July the 19th. It's at Heaton Park. Yeah, you heard that right. It is sold out. Oasis live in 2025, but talkSPORT can get you in. It's not all alongside the tickets. We're going to give you $5,000 and put you up in a hotel as well, completely tax-free. Listen up right now for everything you need to know about how to enter.
Alright, kid, you have to be over 18 to enter in the UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win a pair of tickets to the most electrifying rock and roll reunion of the century, a hotel stay and $5,000 spending money, all you got to do is text the word Oasis to 83338 by Monday the 7th of July at 11 p.m. and you'll be entered into the draw to go supersonic this summer. Sorted. Right, here's all the legal stuff. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You've got to have the bill payer's permission or post your name and number to Oasis Prize Draw, P.O. Box 3190, Colchester, CO2 8GP to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 10th of July. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com.
Miles Lewis-Skelly has signed a new 5-year contract at Arsenal. The unveiling of the new contract was pretty wholesome as well, walking through the halls of the Emirates with his gran looking at pictures, going into the dressing room with her. She actually said that when she found Bukayo Saka's shirt, she said, "Oh, there's my other grandson." And then heading out the tunnel, and then as he came out the tunnel with her, the friends and family were all waiting there as a surprise. It was a very nice touch. Is he a shining example of the talent that is in the Hale End Academy at Arsenal?
Yeah, look, he's probably, there's obviously Ethan Waneri as well, but I look at Miles Lewis-Skelly, and I never want to sort of make sort of sensational quotes, but I listened to Ashley Cole on this morning, and I genuinely think he could be our Ashley Cole. I think if he's a midfielder playing left back, and it will be interesting to see what he decides, what he wants to do going forward. He's going to be an Arsenal legend for many years to come, but he has a chance to be England's left back for the next decade or so. I think he's already our best left back.
You're a left back. What's he got to work on to be at that level? Because we saw a sort of episode in the Senegal game where
he sort of went and stayed wide. Midfield player came in and went narrow. That should have been the other way round, technically. What else does he need to learn in order to elevate his game?
Look, he's got it all in terms of his physique, his pace, his touch, his passing, his awareness. The only thing I'd say, if he does realise that he has the chance of being England's next left-back for the next dozen years, is the defensive ability. Or I talked about Nico O'Reilly with the second goal last night, not sensing danger. That's what defenders have to do, and especially fullbacks have to sense danger, that actually this could develop here, and then what if we make a mistake? What if that ball goes there? I need to be in the right position. I think from a defensive point of view, that's the thing he needs to work on. I think sometimes he can get caught up. I like his passion, but sometimes he can get caught a little bit over the top. But that's
he's
youth.
18, right?
That's youth. He has got the lot, and I think the defensive part of it will come. Now, again, I go back to, does he want to be a midfielder, or does he want to be Arsenal and England's left back for the next decade or so? And that's his choice. But I honestly think he's that good, or he will be that good, that he can win 100 caps for his country. But it will be in that left back position. Don't know about midfield.
Negotiations were handled by his mum, Marcia Lewis, who is a fascinating character, actually. Decided to be an agent, became FIFA registered, did a master's in football business, and as Miles says, doesn't take any nonsense.
No, I've met her.
Have you?
I was on the show one time. We did a mental health show with Majestic, and she came on, spoke very well, very intelligent.
She set up an organisation for parents who have got kids in academies.
That's what
she?
it was about.
And she's done a great job with that. And it's going to actually be adopted into the Premier League sort of syllabus for those sort of academy and reach out programs. I love the fact that she was like, he's 18. He needs to live at home. One, because I like his company, but two, because he needs to be kept in check and he needs to do the chores, tidy your room, empty the dishwasher. It does give you an impression of a grounded environment for the kid, which you do seem to get actually from the Hale End Academy kids. I mean, Saka's a very sort of similar character.
Yeah. I think Liverpool's the same. I think the way that Liverpool deal with their academy and the players, and that they don't allow them to, one, earn a certain amount, and two, sort of drive certain cars, I think it's brilliant. I still don't know for the life of me, and anyone my age and even younger, a decade younger, do not know why APs don't clean boots, don't sort of help wash kit, don't pick up, don't make cups of teas. You know, that was about learning the sort of dirty part of it while saying, I want to be in your position. It makes you try even harder. Now, he would have signed pro early on and wouldn't have been cleaning boots for very long. But if you've got that at home, honestly, mate, it makes such a difference. It really does. I didn't leave home actually until I was about 22. And just those home comforts, I think, are very important. You know, if I lived on my own at 18, 19, I'd be eating pizza every night and microwave lasagna and all those type of things. So, no, absolutely, it's the right thing to do.
Stop describing my diet. After signing, he did also say that he wants to win everything with Arsenal. How realistic is that?
It's tough. It's going to be tough, but it's absolutely what he should be saying. And where Arsenal in reasonably recent times, you know, sometimes lost their best players to City when they were really throwing the cash, I think that Arsenal are in a place now where they can keep their best players, and they have to. You know, I mean, in the short term, it's next season is massive for Mikel Arteta. It really is. But if Arsenal Football Club want to be where they believe they should be, then they need to keep the likes of him, Waneri, and obviously all the top Saka, all the top players they've got, and add to it as well. They're building a really good squad. And you know what? Arsenal have been the butt of jokes about finishing second for the last 3 years. And they've met, arguably, English football's greatest ever team. Finished second to them twice. And last season was the big one, where it was meant to be their year. City were always going to drop off, and then Liverpool stepped in. So now it's about that reaction. And that's why I believe, although not all the Arsenal fans do, that number 9 is so important, because they're building a really good squad. I think they've got a really good manager. I do. And I genuinely hope he does win things, because I think be careful what you wish for.
Miles Lewis-Skelly not only was the subject of interest from Arsenal, obviously, I think it helped the negotiations that there were talks about Real Madrid maybe coming in to swoop him. But I think some of that was down to the fact that he's doing an AS level in Spanish, so people just put 2 and 2 together. But obviously, it didn't hurt him and didn't hurt the fact that there was
good enough.
Rumoured
Eventually.
to be interest around it. But he speaks Spanish, not because he wants to go somewhere else, just in case. I think we don't all have to learn Spanish just because they want to go somewhere else. Scott didn't learn Spanish because you wanted to go somewhere else, did you?
No, I learned
You learned it
Spanish
for love, didn't you?
Yeah,
You did.
I worked for a Colombian woman. Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
I learned Portuguese
for
absolutely
a job, yeah. But not beforehand, right?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Funny, quick one on that. So we're in the FA Cup final with Chelsea, and in the build up to it, back then, I don't think they do it now, but you sort of do a series of TV interviews. People get paid, and there's a big pool. It goes into a big pool, and then it's divvied out with the kit man and washerwoman and all that kind of stuff. I was on Zig and Zag. You have to be a certain age to remember Zig and Zag with Suggsy from Madness. Suggsy did our cup final song, one of the best ones out there. And one of the things I had to do was, because Juninho was Middlesbrough's best player by a million miles, so I had to read something out in Portuguese. And little did I know, 2 months later, I'd be signing for Benfica.
Yeah.
That was my first
Maybe
bit of
that's maybe that's what alerted them
they were
to
watching
you.
Zig and Zag, not me on the
They're
pitch.
watching The Big Breakfast. That was part of their scouting repertoire. Right, so remember, it's sort of live football from young players coming through. England's under-21s against Germany under-21s. The European Championship final is live tomorrow on talkSPORT. 8 o'clock kick-off for that tomorrow. Joe Shannon and former England under-21 midfielder Darren Ambrose will be part of your commentary team. We're heading off to Switzerland very shortly. Switzerland against Norway. Women's Euros 2025 is Wednesday, the 2nd of July. That is officially the opening game, although there is an opening game beforehand, Iceland against Finland, which some of us are going to. But we'll be off there very shortly next. He's enjoying himself, I think. I did get a text message from Tony Alford who says, Sam's boots look so Spursy. I don't even know what that means, but it made everybody laugh. I'm looking forward to it. Do you know what? I'm off to the Women's European Championships on Monday. I've got the Disability Cup finals this weekend, which I'm looking forward to at St George's Park. And then after 3-4 weeks in Switzerland, I am going off to Nashville. I'm going off to Nashville to play Cowboy for a week and a half.
Are they holding the Premier League off for you to come back?
You got wait.
When are you coming back? You hold that power?
No, I'm literally back just the day before the start of the season, the championship season, the start of the championship season. Just in time to get back for the championship season, which is good because the championship season starts on the Friday night with Birmingham Ipswich, which is going to be a brilliant game live on talkSPORT. What a great start to the season that is, and the whole weekend is just full of top fixtures. Southampton against Wrexham is live on talkSPORT on the Saturday as well. What? Yeah, Charlton getting
great
promoted.
To see Charlton in the championship.
Must be delighted about that.
Absolutely delighted.
Looking forward to that. I'm sure you'll be down there a few times to the Valley.
Tough division, the third tier to get out of.
Do you know what was interesting? I was doing the EFL fixture release on Thursday for talkSPORT, and I was going through and so you know what it's like. Everyone says, "Oh, well, who's got the toughest start?" And I'm like, this is the championship. Yeah. Every game is a pain in the backside. It's hard work. You can't tell from one week to another who's going to be in form and who's not anyway. So the idea of sitting here prior to the start of the season and picking out who's got the toughest six, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah, and I look at the season that Charlton had, and League One is a bit like the Championship because it is that ruthless and difficult to get out of. Where Charlton were sort of just before Christmas, they were like something like 14th, and yet they went on such a great run and nicked into the playoffs and won the playoffs as well. I remember when I was covering the Championship at the time, Aston Villa on March the 1st were 13th, so the bottom half of the table, and they went on a great run, nicked into 6th, and
the rest is history.
Well. The rest is history.
Under a week to go until the European Championships start for the Swiss women's team. They kick off their home Euros, but they've had some scrutiny on social media after losing 7-1 to FC Luzern's under-15s side, which was being played behind closed doors and meant to be kept under wraps, but the score and the highlights were made public. Angelina Kelly, talkSPORT reporter, is off to the Euros and she joins us now before she goes. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Nice to see you.
You too.
Very good. I won't tell you the last time I saw Angelina, but
go on.
She was.
No, go on.
She was
if you're going to go there.
She was partying. She was partying. That's what I'm saying.
You were stood in the corner quiet, weren't you?
You know I was. I
was just drinking lemonade with Angelina.
You weren't the first one on the stage out of the talkSPORT crew, were you, Sam? Of course not.
Was that when you and Sean Custis got up singing together? Was that a different time?
No. It was me, Crook, and Leonardo Bonucci at the end of the night singing "Take That, Never Forget."
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It was Soccer Aid.
Have we got? Is there a leakage of that video at all, or somewhere?
There's definitely footage. I'll find it for you. Don't you worry, I'll find it for you.
There is definitely footage. Anyway, good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming in and joining us. I appreciate this. Let's talk about this story because it's got a little bit of traction. The idea was that they were just warming up for the Euros and they were playing this lads team, just trying to sort of get in. But they lost 7-1. It doesn't look great. Just explain to us the backstory.
So, obviously, the Swiss team are the home nation. They're hosting the Euros. This is a big deal. I mean, they are 23rd in the world rankings, so they're not expected to set the world alight at the Euros, but still, this is a big deal. This is a massive European tournament. And, the reports are that they wanted to get some competitiveness, and that's where I kind of lose this. So, they said, the head of communications for the women's national team has said it's not uncommon for women's football teams to compete against junior teams. The goal is to bring a certain competitive element. You're going into a major tournament. That, to me, they lose me there because how is that competitive playing teenagers? I don't understand it. Like I say, they are defending it. They're saying that the result didn't matter for us. It was about testing our game principles. I just don't understand who actually benefits from this. The PR, like you say, is horrendous. And how does this affect morale? Everyone is now talking about the fact that this is a narrative that happens with a lot of women's football teams. You go on YouTube, you Google it, a women's team losing to some boys or whatever. So you're just perpetuating this. This narrative is now massive going into this tournament, and that's all anybody's talking about.
Who is it helping? I mean, who is it helping? That's the problem, isn't it? So, and I know that the idea was to keep it under wraps, but the fact that it's happening,
and how has it been leaked?
You know it's going to get out at some stage because everything does, right?
If you're filming something It's like being, sitting in front of a mic, but the light's not on. The mic is always on. That's the way you got to think. And in terms of, any kind of filming going on, to think that it wouldn't somehow get leaked or get out is naive at very best. And I'm with you, Angelina. I from a PR point of view, not just for the Swiss national side, but also just for women's football, it's not what they need right now. We should all support women's football. I mean, it does. I do get slightly frustrated, when it's compared men's football and women's football.
Well, that's the thing. It's completely different, right?
Absolutely.
It's completely different.
Let's not be afraid to say that.
Yeah, but I think if you speak to any of the professional players, and I'm lucky enough to have worked in it for a very long time now, they will tell you this is a completely different game. Stop talking about the two as 100%. in,
And some of the players have even said that it is different because even just height, a lot of these lads that were playing in this team are a similar height, if not taller, than some of the players. So just that alone, and there have been conversations around this saying, it is different. It is different, men and women playing. I just don't understand why they're doing it. You're telling me that before, less than a week out of the tournament, you're telling me that there was no other team that you could have played. I just don't understand the thought process behind it. And I don't think the argument of it being competitive is not competitive.
You can imagine that the Swiss international players are probably not giving it their entire all playing against this lads team from Luzerne. That's probably not happening because they're probably working on shape or something like that. But the full highlights are available on Twitter. It doesn't look particularly good. There are friendlies going on. I think Norway played Sweden, last night or something like that. So there are warm-up games that are happening. Talk to me about the tournament itself. So when Spain win it,
watch it.
Spain have never won the European Championships, but they must be big favourites, right?
Massively. I mean, you saw the way that they won the World Cup. You look at Spain's starting lineup. Over half of it is Barcelona, which, of course, Arsenal did beat them in the Champions League final. But this Barcelona team, they were on track for a quadruple. And the fact that they didn't do it this year, they were disappointed. They still won trophies, but the fact they didn't get a quadruple, their fans are absolutely devastated. That's the kind of standards that Barcelona have. So you're taking that into the Spanish national team. There's been a lot that's been going on. Obviously, we all know what happened with Rubiales after the World Cup. I don't know if anybody's seen the Netflix documentary on the Spanish women's football team. I would encourage you to watch it. What they've been through as a team has been horrendous. And the fact that they've come out the other side of this, they're going into this Euros to win. I think that it will be a great story, of course, for them to win. But, I'm an England fan. There's been, a lot of disruption, a lot of conversation about certain players that will not be there. People have their reasons, and that's fair enough. For me, the only worrying thing is how does this team, mentally go into this with all this conversation and all this noise so close to the tournament. But England have got a very, very strong squad, and I think that they'll definitely be in there. You look at France, they've got a lot of really good players as well. Even, a side like Norway could surprise. They're in the group with the Swiss and with Iceland and Finland. They could maybe cause an upset. So it's an exciting tournament, definitely.
Not that talkSPORT is built solely on parties. I know we've referenced it at the start, at the end. But obviously,
and Alex Crook isn't even here.
One of the best days I ever had was the Lionesses winning the European Championships.
Yeah, that was
we had a great day. Yeah, it was a brilliant tour, actually.
Do you remember it? It couldn't have been that good if you remember it.
I did, because I didn't drink.
Yes, I remember.
I was being very good at the time.
We tried to peer pressure him, but it wasn't
happening. I drove home to Manchester that night. I went to the party, though.
Yeah,
I did go to the party, stayed till very late, but then drove later on.
What was it like watching everybody getting really...
It was hilarious. But it was a great day. It was a really wholesome experience, and the whole tournament itself went down really well. And I just hope that this tournament is just as well organised and just as well received, because it's slightly different, lots of smaller stadiums, but it's very easy to get around the country, isn't it? I mean, I was looking at my travel, it's like literally an hour here, hour there, going around the city, so it should be pretty accessible.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, there's so much more noise, there's so much more attention on this tournament because of the last one, because of the World Cup. So you just want things to run smoothly. You want things to go the way that you expect it to go. So yeah, and hopefully, we like to see a few upsets. That's one of the most exciting things about football, isn't it? So as long as it's not England with any upsets, maybe Spain, then we'll be all right.
And to see full stadia as well, which it sounds like if this stadium's a little bit small, that won't be an issue. That's really important to create that atmosphere and the look 100%, as well.
100%, yeah. And I think one thing, I was at the Champions League final, Barcelona and Arsenal, and the stadium, it was absolutely fantastic. The atmosphere that they create, I've spoke to a lot of England women's football fans. They will be there in their numbers, and they will not be afraid to get loud.
Looking forward to it. Angelina is also the host of talkSPORT's daily transfer YouTube show, The Window, today alongside Ben Jacobs. You can catch that on the talkSPORT YouTube channel later today, including discussing the future of Jadon Sancho. Serie A?
Fingers crossed, as long as it's not with my team, Man United. I'm not bothered.
Marcus Rashford.
And on that note, we will leave you there. Angelina, nice to see you. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate that. See you in Switzerland, probably, I would have thought. Scotty, when will I see you again?
There's a song there somewhere. I'm not quite sure.
I'd be over Zoom. Just going to
probably, yeah, we'll be, yeah.
Premier League All Access podcast
Absolutely.
will be out on Monday or Tuesday next week, and that will be with Scott, and the Crook Meister, if we can get him out of the pool and sober him up in time. Hawksby and Jacobs are coming next.